In a world overrun by dimensional rifts, our young chef protagonist is just trying to survive, as cosmic energy strikes the planet and shatters the peaceful sky with apocalyptic force, opening a massive purple portal right above a terrified and unsuspecting city, where citizens quickly realize that something massive and alive is staring back at them, revealing a colossal serpent with glowing red eyes that signals the literal end of days, sending the entire population into a chaotic frenzy as debris rains down on the streets. At that exact moment, the giant beast roars and unleashes absolute devastation upon the helpless city below. But humanity managed to survive by building secure zones to hold back the monster hordes. Years later, inside a cozy local diner, the lunch rush is finally winding down for the day, until a heavily armed hunter with a massive scar walks through the front door, demanding his usual heavy meal from our main character, a hard-working young chef named Jong Han, who immediately gets to work chopping ingredients and prepping steaming bowls of fresh rice, serving up a massive feast to the exhausted warrior with a cheerful smile. Curious about the outside world, Jong Han asks how the latest wilderness raid turned out, but the veteran hunter sighs, explaining they ran into a terrifying Lord-class boar monster. This beast went completely berserk, destroying their shelter and forcing them into a desperate subway escape, leaving Jong Han deeply worried as he asks if everyone made it back safely, only to learn that another close family friend lost an arm during the chaotic retreat. Before the young chef can rush off to brew some healing chicken soup, Uncle Hu stops him, asking if he has finally reached 18 and awakened his own special hunter abilities. Uncle Hu leans in close, eagerly asking what kind of special hunter talent the kid finally awakened, but Jong Han can only look away in disappointment, admitting he got a basic C-class heavy strike, which immediately prompts a loudmouth at the next table to laugh at his bottom-tier luck, reminding everyone that C-class losers are destined to stay cooped up inside the safe zone forever. While Uncle Hu barks back at the drunkard, our young chef quietly slips away to brew his soup, leaving the noisy dining area behind as he heads straight into the quiet kitchen to work. He sighs heavily, feeling completely defeated by the harsh reality of his low-tier awakening, shaking off the depression to grab a fresh chicken and raise his heavy kitchen cleaver, bringing the blade down with a swift chop that suddenly triggers a strange ringing sound, as a blue screen pops up to announce he just gained experience points for cooking. This kid freezes in absolute shock when the system confirms a successful online game binding, instantly rewarding him with a massive newbie package containing rare cards and his personal storage space. He can barely believe his eyes, staring at the floating screens in utter disbelief as reality shifts, revealing a massive holographic status panel that rates his current combat power at over 300. Another prompt suddenly appears, asking if he wants to store his kitchen tools inside the inventory, and he reaches out to tap the glowing confirmation button with a trembling finger. Suddenly, the holographic screens dissolve into a swirling vortex of digital energy right before him, transporting him into a massive pocket dimension filled with floating blue cubes of data, where he inspects a special card that promises to double his experience gain for 3 hours. Even better, he holds a talent upgrade card, something completely unheard of in this monster-infested world. Staring at the glowing card, our young chef realizes this could be his ticket out of mediocrity. With his trusty kitchen cleaver in hand, he wonders if he can finally become a true warrior, prompting a system window to pop up and ask if he wants to use the upgrade card immediately. This card shatters into golden fragments as his basic C-class heavy strike successfully upgrades to a B-class skill, granting him a devastating critical strike that offers a 30% chance to deal triple damage, while the system quickly updates his attribute data to reflect this massive leap in power, leaving him completely speechless as he stares at the newly updated holographic status screen. His combat power has skyrocketed by nearly 200 points, bringing his total rating to over 500, which makes him cheer out loud since 6 years of brutal training only got him to 300. He inspects the glowing interface, deeply curious about how this game-like system actually works. But the digital space suddenly dissolves and snaps him right back into his quiet kitchen, where he stands in absolute awe, feeling a surge of raw, unfamiliar energy coursing through his veins. To test this newfound strength, he raises his heavy kitchen cleaver and brings it down with absolute force, slicing clean through the thick wooden cutting board as a system notification confirms his skill proficiency increased. This incredible display of power leaves him grinning, knowing he could easily wound a real monster now. Meanwhile, the low hum of the kitchen exhaust fan brings him back to the reality of his situation, as Uncle Hu sits in the dining area, arguing over the phone about their desperate need for a scout, before sighing deeply and agreeing to delay their next dangerous wilderness raid for at least 3 days, prompting Jong Han to step out of the kitchen and ask why they are rushing back out so soon, only to learn they lost all their valuable materials during the retreat and must recover them to survive. Uncle Hu walks away, explaining that their team is completely helpless without a proper scout, leaving Jong Han watching his back and wishing he could actually do something to help, but the veteran hunter just pats his shoulder, reassuring him that his time will come. Waving a final goodbye, the scarred warrior disappears into the crowded streets of the safe zone, prompting our young chef to clench his fist as he remembers the strict requirements for wilderness exploration, which demands a combat rating of over 1,000 and an official warrior certification. Heading to a local poultry farm to grind, he gets scolded by the boss for being late. This young chef quickly apologizes, promising to slaughter extra chickens before his shift ends today. This boss sighs as the kid rushes inside, muttering about how unmotivated the younger generation is nowadays. Unaware that Jong Han is standing in the coop, surrounded by targets ready for his cleaver, and with a swift swing of his blade, he easily takes down his first target. triggering a system notification that awards him experience points alongside his regular hourly wages. Grinning with absolute determination, he realizes this poultry farm is his ultimate leveling ground, unleashing a relentless flurry of strikes as feathers fly and experience points rapidly pile up. Continuing his intense grinding session for 2 straight hours without taking a single break, suddenly a massive golden notification pops up to announce he has successfully reached level 2. Rewarding him with a new task system and a whopping 100 free attribute points, which he immediately distributes evenly across his stats, boosting his combat power past 1200. Just then, the farm owner slides the door open to check on his progress, only to freeze in absolute shock at the mountain of plucked chickens left in the kid's wake. After his insane grinding session at the farm, Jonghan heads back to his school campus, wondering how he can get his hands on an awakening stone to unlock his second talent slot. But his deep thoughts are suddenly interrupted when his loudmouth classmate Chang Hao jumps him from behind. Shaking off the scare, our young chef casually asks his buddy where someone might buy an awakening stone, prompting Chang Hao to look at him like he has lost his mind since he already awakened. To change the subject, the classmate mentions that their mutual friend Zhang Zhiyu just scored an S-class awakening, expressing absolute shock that she didn't tell her own childhood friend about getting recruited by a top university. He brutally points out that her combat power is already over 2,000 while Zhonghan is stuck at the bottom, only for a familiar voice to suddenly call out to them from right behind, revealing the silver-haired genius herself, looking incredibly stunning as she walks right up to the duo. Seeing the tension, Chang Hao immediately makes a clumsy excuse and runs away to leave them alone, allowing Zhonghan to ask why she came to find him right before her big departure. She explains she is heading to a 4-month wilderness training camp, handing him a sleek golden box, claiming she has absolutely no use for this high-tier university reward and wants him to have it instead. Before walking away, she turns back with a soft smile, promising to wait for him at the academy, leaving our boy sitting on the bench alone, staring down at the mysterious container with deep curiosity. He slides the lid open to find a legendary skill manual called the Ninefold Thunderblade, which instantly triggers his system interface to identify it as an incredibly rare Earth-grade martial art, making him realize this gift is worth a fortune and was meant to help him catch up to her. So he firmly taps the screen to learn the skill, ready to prove he can stand by her side. As the legendary skill integrates, his system reveals a massive 70% chance to trigger a devastating combo. And with blue lightning crackling around his fingers, he resolves to take the official warrior exam immediately, heading straight out to secure his certification before hunting down a second talent awakening stone. Our young chef soon arrives at the massive warrior guild, ignoring the giant beast statues guarding the entrance, and steps inside to find a crowd of hopeful candidates waiting for their physical strength evaluation. After filling out his registration form, he joins the queue while others gossip about a high-tier punch score, watching a muscular candidate smash the testing machine to register a solid 512 kilograms. When his turn finally comes, Zhonghan calmly introduces himself and registers his newly upgraded B-class talent, stepping up to the massive machine and drawing back his fist as raw energy begins to gather, before unleashing a devastating strike that channels all his explosive power into a single point, slamming his fist directly into the target with a deafening boom that shakes the entire room. This digital counter spins wildly, struggling to calculate the sheer force of the young chef's impact, leaving the proctor staring in absolute disbelief as his jaw drops at the ridiculous reading, which reveals a mind-boggling score of over 2,000 kilograms, completely shattering the previous record. Zhonghan grins in satisfaction, thrilled to see his intense grinding sessions pay off so massively. This stunned examiner quickly recovers, instructing him to select a weapon for the upcoming practical combat test. So our boy heads over to the armory rack to browse through the various blades on display. He picks a sleek short knife, deciding it feels perfect for testing his new thunder skill. But the proctor warns him that this next phase carries a very real risk of danger, opening the heavy metal doors and telling him to call for help if he cannot survive the trial. A system notification flashes on the screen, signaling the immediate start of his practical combat test. Zhonghan enters the arena, scanning the heavily scarred walls of the reinforced chamber. Suddenly, a massive tiger monster with glowing red eyes leaps forward with a deafening roar, catching our young chef off guard as he braces himself for the sudden onslaught. With a swift, acrobatic backflip, he narrowly evades the beast's razor-sharp claws, landing gracefully on the floor while the massive predator crashes heavily into the concrete. Crouching low, the young warrior remains completely calm, analyzing his opponent's next move. Meanwhile, the examiners watch the monitor in confusion, wondering why he isn't running for the exit. But blue lightning suddenly begins to crackle around his body as he grips his short knife, leaving the proctor staring in absolute shock at the massive surge of raw energy, which manifests as a terrifying dark aura that completely dwarfs the tiger's presence. Declaring his ultimate goal to conquer the wilderness, he prepares to unleash his ultimate technique, executing the first form of the Ninefold Thunderblade with blinding speed, as a system notification confirms a devastating critical hit that deals 8 times normal damage. Staring at his incredible results, he is amazed to see his final evaluation score hit A+, prompting the stunned examiner to explain that even veteran wilderness hunters rarely achieve such a rank, though Zhonghan just laughs it off as a lucky fluke before receiving his official passing grade. Stepping out of the massive guild building, our boy proudly holds his brand new warrior certification, resolving to keep his high rank a secret to avoid drawing any unnecessary trouble, unaware that a mysterious cloaked observer is watching his every move from the shadows. While the mysterious cloaked observer watches from the shadows, muttering that everything is only just beginning, our young chef heads straight over to the bustling exotic materials market in the city, accompanied by his loudmouth classmate Chang Hao, who points out the shops selling rare awakening stones. His buddy immediately starts prying about what the silver-haired genius wanted to talk to him about, advising Zhang Han to buy some stat-boosting potions to help close their massive power gap. Stepping inside a local shop, our boy casually asks the merchant if they have any awakening stones, prompting the clerk to point toward the shelves where they sell for a cheap 500 coins. Although Zhang Han wonders why the price is so low, his friend explains nobody needs a second one, leading him to quickly grab a glowing blue stone that feels absolutely perfect for his plans. Since they are already in the market, Chang Hao suggests checking out a nearby weapon shop next, where a fast-talking merchant showcases a high-grade alloy blade that is 10 times harder than steel, inspiring our young chef to purchase the blue steel weapon despite its hefty price tag of 8,000, which the ecstatic shopkeeper quickly packs up while promising a generous 3-month return policy. Outside, his classmate looks highly skeptical of the purchase, warning him that short knives are incredibly difficult to master. But Zhang Han just laughs it off as they finally part ways to head back home. As night falls over the quiet city streets and the neighborhood grows completely silent, this young warrior sits at his desk, staring at the glowing blue stone with absolute anticipation, and with a quick tap on his holographic system screen, he confirms the second talent awakening. This crystal instantly bursts into a brilliant blue light, channeling a massive surge of energy into his body, causing his veins to pulse with raw power as a system notification announces his brand new talent. This system flashes as the second talent awakening completes, granting him a powerful A-class talent called Insight. He can barely believe his luck, jumping straight from a mediocre C-class to a high-tier A-class talent. His stats immediately skyrocket by 60 points, boosting his overall combat power by over 1,300. With his power surging, our boy looks out toward the massive wall guarding the dangerous wilderness. Meanwhile, Uncle Hu and his veteran hunting squad gather at the gate, waiting for their missing scout. This scarred warrior casually suggests doubling as the scout, prompting his team to call him completely insane. He explains their regular scout got injured, leaving them with absolutely no options on such short notice. But their desperate argument is suddenly cut short by a familiar voice shouting from above them. Zhang Han leaps down with a massive grin, carrying a bag of supplies and ready to join them. Uncle Hu immediately scolds him, warning that a kid with a C-class talent is just seeking death. Our young chef just smirks, proudly flashing his brand new official warrior badge to shut them up. This entire squad freezes in absolute disbelief, demanding to know how a C-class kid pulled this off. Realizing he cannot reveal his system, Zhang Han lies that he actually awakened a B-class critical strike talent. While his excuse leaves them skeptical, Uncle Hu seriously asks if he is truly ready for the wilderness. Our boy gets incredibly serious, explaining he needs to gain experience and search for his missing father. He points out they desperately need a scout, and his new talent makes him the perfect fit. To seal the deal, he pulls out a frying pan, promising to cook them actual gourmet meals. Uncle Hu finally relents, grabbing his shoulder and warning him to follow every single order out there. This team happily digs into his delicious food, thrilled to escape a diet of dry survival rations. And with that, they board the massive armored train, speeding directly into the dangerous unknown. As the armored train speeds along, the squad looks around the crowded passenger cabin. Uncle Hu suggests finding some open seats so they can rest before reaching the wilderness, but a group of obnoxious rival hunters immediately starts mocking them for bringing a rookie. This loudmouth antagonist brings up a painful past tragedy, laughing at Uncle Hu's supposed weakness. Infuriated by the cheap shot, the veteran warrior lunges forward while his teammates desperately hold him back, prompting the arrogant rival to reach for his weapon with a smug, challenging grin, sparking a massive commotion as the entire cabin watches the two squads clash over their pride. Drawing his blade, Uncle Hu proposes a high-stakes duel where the loser must jump off the train, which the overconfident bully happily accepts, leaping into the air with his massive broadsword. Onlookers quickly point out the massive power gap, worrying that Uncle Hu stands absolutely no chance. But Zhang Han refuses to watch his leader fail, activating his newly acquired insight talent, scanning the opponent's body to instantly pinpoint critical weaknesses in his waist and lower leg. Our young chef quickly whispers these vital targets to his leader, who tells him to step back, standing firm as he prepares to face the incoming assault with newfound tactical confidence. This arrogant rival charges forward with blinding speed, determined to humiliate the veteran in front of everyone, leaping high into the air to deliver a devastating overhead strike with his heavy blade, only for Uncle Hu to counter by unleashing his signature lightning skill, crackling with blue energy. Stunned spectators realize this high-speed technique is incredibly risky, essentially making it a double-edged sword. But as their weapons clash in a massive shower of sparks, the veteran holds his ground, exploiting the exact weaknesses Zhang Han identified to deliver a decisive slash that sends his opponent flying. Uncle Hu praises Zhang Han's sharp eyes and charges at the rival with lightning speed, delivering a devastating slash that completely disarms the bully and sends him flying backward, who crashes violently onto the metal floor, leaving a massive dent in his wake. This squad immediately cheers for their leader's victory while the defeated rival lies completely unconscious, but the angry lackeys refuse to back down, drawing their weapons to rush him all at once. only for a massive purple gravity field to suddenly slam everyone flat onto the floor, leaving the veteran hunters trembling as they recognize an S-class talent from a high-level general. While Zhang Han breaks into a cold sweat at the terrifying pressure of this newcomer, this mysterious enforcer coldly announces that private duels are strictly forbidden on the armored train, warning both squads that any further trouble will get them thrown straight into the wilderness. Once the enforcer leaves, the relieved teammates quickly gather to bandage Uncle Hu's minor wounds, and before long, the train finally screeches to a halt at the massive steel camp outpost, which serves as humanity's heavily fortified first line of defense against the brutal wilderness monsters. Stepping off the platform, our young chef looks around the towering concrete structures in absolute awe, while their leader instructs them to quickly restock supplies before hunting the dangerous wild boar king. Leaving the safety of the outpost behind, the squad marches out into the desolate dead tree wasteland, prompting Uncle Hu to explain their respective combat talents so they can coordinate their attacks. Starting with their goggled teammate, who demonstrates his B-class fire element by conjuring a blazing fireball, followed by Uncle Long showing off his A-class Tyrant Dragon talent that massively boosts physical stats. Before their leader wraps up by reminding Zhang Han of his own lightning-fast super speed ability, Uncle Hu explains their target is City 283, warning the squad about a terrifying Lord-level Boar King. But our boy just runs ahead, promising to stay safe while handling his scouting duties perfectly, until he suddenly freezes in his tracks, hearing a bizarre rumbling sound right beneath his feet. This ground beneath his boots instantly begins to glow with a strange, crackling yellow energy, prompting Uncle Hu to scream at him to get out of the way immediately, as a massive red serpent bursts from the dirt, launching our young chef high into the air. This mid-tier fire-headed python wastes no time, unleashing a massive torrent of blazing flames directly at him, though Uncle Hu quickly yells that its attacks are slow if he can just avoid the fire. Flashing a confident smirk, Zhang Han tells his leader to stand back and let him handle this solo, immediately activating his A-class insight talent to scan the giant beast for any critical vulnerabilities. His system quickly highlights a massive red target exactly 7 inches down the python's neck, and with a fearless leap, he dives straight down toward the roaring, fire-breathing monster, delivering a single blinding slash that cleanly slices the giant serpent in half. A flurry of system notifications confirms the kill, awarding him massive experience points and a level up, leaving our boy highly amused that hunting real monsters is way faster than farming chickens. This veteran hunter stands in absolute awe around the carcass, praising his incredible combat reflexes. But Zhang Han just laughs it off, suggesting they cook up some delicious snake meat for dinner. Before long, a thick, juicy portion of python meat is roasting beautifully over their campfire, making the happy hunters agree that having a master chef on the team is a total cheat code, while our hero quietly dumps his 100 free attribute points to boost his combat power even higher. Uncle Hu decides they should camp, warning that traveling through the dark wilderness is far too dangerous, but their peaceful evening is suddenly shattered by a terrifying howl echoing under the full moon. Standing around the campfire, the veteran hunters instantly recognize the chilling cry of wilderness wolves. Their scout estimates the pack is coming from the southwest, roughly 1 kilometer away from their position, prompting Uncle Hu to order an immediate retreat toward the northeast before they get completely surrounded, and the squad sprints through the dead forest, aiming for the safety of Ruin City 186. Unfortunately, another loud howl echoes nearby, making them realize they cannot outrun these fast predators. A massive pack of red-eyed beasts charges out of the shadows, hungry for human flesh, leaving the hunters with no choice but to stand their ground on a steep rocky slope, while Uncle Hu warns our young chef to wait for the perfect opening before striking. As a massive wolf leaps directly at him, Zhang Han tightly grips his brand new alloy blade, activating his A-class insight talent to instantly scan the beast's body for any critical vulnerabilities, and with a swift upward slash, he cleanly slices open the monster's soft underbelly. Uncle Long watches in absolute shock, amazed that a rookie easily one-shotted a 1,000-power beast. But more wolves immediately swarm our boy, forcing him to defend against their sharp claws, while his muscular teammate punches one away only to get blindsided by another leaping predator, which sinks its razor-sharp teeth deep into his shoulder, making the veteran cry out in pain. Reacting instantly, their goggled teammate unleashes a massive fire punch to blast the beasts away, channeling his blazing element to incinerate the surrounding wolves and buy his squad some breathing room, and Zhang Han leaps high, coating his blade in crackling lightning to deliver a devastating strike. These veterans are absolutely blown away by Zhang Han's insane combat power and lightning speed, but their goggled teammate warns them to stay focused as the pack begins to lose its mind, unleashing a coordinated, bloodthirsty charge as dozens of red-eyed predators rush them all at once. Gripping his alloy blade, our young chef prepares to paint the forest red alongside his squad, only for the terrifying beasts to suddenly halt and slowly back away in sheer terror. A chilling chorus of synchronized howls suddenly echoes beneath the glowing light of the full moon, leaving the veteran hunters completely baffled by this bizarre and sudden shift in the pack's behavior. Uncle Hu's face instantly pales as he senses an overwhelming pressure radiating from the deep shadows, revealing a majestic, glowing white wolf with massive feathered wings stepping gracefully into the clearing. This entire squad freezes in absolute terror as a massive, suffocating shadow looms over their position. Introducing the legendary Silver-Winged Wolf King, a terrifying Beast King-class monster that rules this wasteland. Shaking with fear, their goggled teammate mutters that this mutated nightmare is far beyond their level, prompting the other veterans to start whispering their final wills and tragic goodbyes to each other. Uncle Hu turns to Zhang Han with deep regret, apologizing for failing to help find his father. But the brave hunters quickly steel their resolve, choosing to die fighting rather than run away. Refusing to accept defeat, our boy suddenly charges forward to test the giant beast's defense first, slamming his lightning-infused blade directly against the monster's face in a massive shower of sparks, only for the giant wolf king to stare back with a glowing, completely unfazed red eye. Their leader screams in absolute panic for the reckless rookie to fall back immediately before he dies. But Zhonghan just grins, leaping high into the air to unleash his ultimate lightning strike. Charging forward with his lightning blade, Zhonghan realizes his insight talent can't find any immediate weaknesses. And to make matters worse, his brand new alloy blade instantly shatters against the beast's iron hide, leaving him completely defenseless as the massive Wolf King raises a heavy paw to crush him, swatting our young hero away like a fly and sending him tumbling backward through the dirt. He crashes violently onto the hard ground while his terrified teammates scream his name in absolute panic. Knowing they are completely outmatched, the kid desperately begs his uncles to run while they still can. But instead of retreating, he charges right back into the fray to draw the monster's attention, prompting the emotional veterans to realize his reckless bravery is exactly like his legendary father's. Our brave chef sprints directly toward the towering beast, determined to find some way to survive, sliding beneath its massive body just as a giant paw crashes down right beside him. Suddenly, his insight talent flashes to life, pinpointing a massive red target right on its soft underbelly. But before he can strike, a powerful shockwave blasts him backward across the rocky terrain. Finding himself completely cornered, he watches in horror as the winged nightmare takes to the sky, diving straight back down with its razor-sharp fangs bared to rip him to shreds, leaving our helpless hero with absolutely no room to dodge this incoming lethal strike. Out of nowhere, a blinding purple energy slash cuts through the air, halting the beast's descent, which leaves Zhonghan staring in absolute disbelief at the sudden and explosive intervention. A massive steel sword is jammed directly into the wolf's gaping maw, stopping it dead in its tracks, revealing the powerful enforcer from the train who has arrived just in the nick of time, coldly asking our reckless rookie if he actually has some kind of bizarre death wish. This veteran hunters watch in absolute shock, realizing this enforcer possesses legendary Marca-level combat power. Barking out orders, the powerful newcomer tells our boy to handle the smaller wolves while he fights the king, and with effortless grace, he easily dodges a lunging predator without even breaking a sweat, leaving Zhonghan completely mesmerized by the sheer overwhelming gap in their combat abilities. Quickly snapping out of it, our young chef stands back-to-back with the elite warrior, as the remaining pack of red-eyed predators slowly closes in on his position. Gripping his backup blade tightly, the kid prepares to unleash his lightning-fast speed once again, leaping high into the air to slice through the swarming beasts with flawless precision. Meanwhile, the enforcer takes to the sky to clash directly with the winged nightmare, blocking a massive claw strike with his heavy steel sword in a shower of sparks. Utilizing his insight talent, Zhonghan suddenly screams out the beast's exact weak spot on its lower belly, prompting the elite warrior to immediately adjust his stance and aim for the target, diving straight beneath the roaring monster as it lunges forward with bared fangs, where he channels his devastating purple energy directly into the creature's soft underbelly, unleashing a massive, explosive slash that completely pierces through the giant beast king's body and leaving him floating majestically in the air as the defeated monster crashes down. With their leader dead, the remaining wolves instantly scatter into the dark forest in absolute terror, while the dumbfounded veterans can only stare in awe at this legendary one-shot victory. Sheathing his massive sword, the enforcer lands gracefully as the relief squad quickly gathers around him, prompting Uncle Hu to bow deeply in respect to thank the powerful Marku for saving their lives. This powerful enforcer points directly at our young hero, calmly asking for his name. Zhonghan introduces himself, still trying to process the insane power gap between them, while the veteran uncles nearly lose their minds learning their rookie has Grandmaster-level combat power. To make things even wilder, the elite warrior casually gifts him the massive Wolf King carcass, leaving the uncles completely flabbergasted since a single fang is worth 1,000,000 alliance points. Our polite hero immediately tries to decline, feeling that such a legendary prize is way too valuable, but the enforcer insists he use it to buy better gear as a personal investment. Before walking away, the mysterious powerhouse tells the kid to remember his name, Marquis Li Chongyang. Watching the legendary warrior disappear into the night, Zhonghan wonders how long his own journey will take. Suddenly, his uncles playfully jump him, demanding to know why he hid his overpowered combat strength. Uncle Long laughs it off, pointing out that having a secret powerhouse on the team is actually great, prompting Zhonghan to suggest they all split the massive profits from the Wolf King's body. He explains that just being allowed to tag along on this wilderness hunt was already enough, but the veterans refuse, insisting he use the materials to upgrade his gear for tougher zones. Accepting their generosity, our young chef watches as his hungry teammates immediately ask about dinner. With a bright smile, Zhonghan happily promises to whip up another legendary wilderness feast, and they safely camp out, knowing the Wolf King's blood will scare off any nearby predators. While eating, Uncle Long suggests that Zhonghan should get certified to lead his own squad, explaining that their current setup limits his insane potential as a top-tier main attacker, which leaves our young hero quietly contemplating his bright future in this dangerous new world. Uncle Hu advises our young chef to seriously consider upgrading his gear as soon as possible, telling him to rest up before they enter the highly dangerous Ruin Zone 283 tomorrow morning. while Jonghan pulls up his system screen, noting he reached level 5 after the Wolf King fight. Bright and early the next day, the squad finally arrives at their destination to begin the hunt. This abandoned city was once a thriving tourist hub before mutated beasts and plants completely took over, and our young hero carefully steps onto the cracked asphalt, keeping his guard up for any danger. Leading the way, Uncle Hu orders the team to secure the high ground while Jonghan scouts ahead, explaining that their main objective is to harvest a rare spiritual herb called Severing Yin grass, which is a crucial ingredient for high-grade healing potions, requiring them to collect exactly 20 stalks. Their mustached teammate grumbles that they would have finished this mission last time if not for a monster. This veteran leader quickly warns Jonghan to stay alert and avoid the terrifying steel-bristled wild boar king, prompting our boy to scale a ruined concrete wall to get a better view of the area. Activating his A-class insight talent, his eye glows blue as he scans the surrounding wasteland for threats, detecting dozens of mutated beasts nearby but luckily finding no sign of the terrifying boar king yet. Moving quietly, the squad advances through the empty streets, aiming for the herb's location 3 kilometers away. But Uncle Hu finds it incredibly strange that they haven't encountered a single monster along their path, only for Jonghan's face to suddenly pale as he senses an overwhelming danger approaching them. Pointing ahead, the panicked rookie warns his teammates that a massive pack of beasts is heading their way, estimating over 20 powerful monsters, including 3 high-tier commanders charging through the ruined streets at full speed. Although the Boar King isn't with them, the beasts are heading straight toward the rare spiritual herbs. Deciding to bypass the beast pack, the squad sprints through the ruins to secure the rare herbs, but they suddenly spot a massive shadow lurking inside a nearby collapsed building, revealing the terrifying steel-bristled wild boar king, letting out a deafening, echoing roar. Pressing themselves against a crumbling concrete wall, the hunters hold their breath to avoid detection, while Jonghan realizes the Beast King just gave birth and summoned the pack for protection. Their teammate explains that this postpartum state leaves the normally overpowered monster incredibly vulnerable, prompting the veterans to quickly formulate a plan to distract the beast while others harvest, leaving our young hero to watch the towering nightmare from a tight concrete crevice. Activating his insight talent, the kid frustratedly notes that he still cannot find any weaknesses, especially since the massive creature refuses to move an inch from its defensive position. Knowing they cannot wait forever, the squad realizes they must actively force the beast out. So Uncle Hu volunteers to draw its aggro while Jonghan gathers the herbs. Sneaking through the rubble, the brave veteran gets into position right beneath the monster's snout, channeling his inner energy as he prepares to unleash a devastating fire-based strike, and slamming a massive flaming punch directly into the beast's face in a burst of light. Taunting the furious monster, Uncle Hu immediately books it down the street to lead it away, which instantly enrages the giant boar king, making its yellow eyes glow with pure hatred as it charges forward, stomping through the ruins in hot pursuit of the fleeing hunter. Seizing the perfect opportunity, Jonghan slips out of hiding and begins plucking the spiritual grass, carefully packing the rare stalks into his bag as he closes in on their target. Looking down at the nest, Jonghan wonders why the Boar King's offspring are so incredibly tiny. Although he could easily eliminate them, he decides to spare the harmless creatures before spotting something unusual. Stepping closer to the ruined wall, he discovers a strange glowing plant radiating a dark purple energy. Our hero realizes this is rare black-striped bamboo, a high-grade herb meant for the beast's recovery. Knowing this rare treasure will massively boost his combat power, he quickly begins harvesting the stalks. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms over him as the terrifying wild boar king returns to its nest. This furious monster immediately strikes, sending our young chef flying backward through the shattered concrete debris. Barely dodging the giant, razor-sharp tusks, he scrambles to his feet in absolute panic. He books it down the street, screaming for help as the flaming beast charges right behind him. Knowing a single hit from those massive tusks would instantly end his life, he pushes his limits. Activating his lightning-fast movement technique, he narrowly evades another devastating stomp from the raging predator. This kid sprints through the ruined streets, desperately trying to put some distance between them. Behind him, the towering nightmare crashes through the abandoned buildings, refusing to let its prey escape. It lets out a deafening, echoing roar of pure hatred that shakes the entire ruined city. Hearing the massive commotion from a distance, the veteran leader quickly turns around in surprise. Spotting our running hero, Uncle Hu waves him over to a safe hiding spot inside the rubble. This relieved squad regroups, and Jonghan proudly shows off the 20 spiritual herbs he successfully harvested. But then he pulls out the rare bamboo, leaving his teammates completely speechless at its insane value. Their scarred teammate instantly panics, warning that the Boar King will track the herb's scent anywhere. Before they can even plan their escape, Jonghan grimly tells them that it is already too late. Pointing down the ruined street, Uncle Hu alerts the squad to a terrifying sight approaching their position, as the massive steel-bristled wild boar king slowly corners them in the narrow alleyway. Making matters worse, the postpartum Beast King has brought an entire army of mutated monsters with her. Realizing they are completely trapped, the brave veteran leader takes a decisive step forward, shoving the heavy backpack of harvested herbs into his teammates' hands while ordering everyone to run. His panicked squad members instantly scream in protest, refusing to leave their leader behind to die. But Uncle Hu ignores their pleas, channeling his vibrant blue energy to face the towering beast. Screaming at the top of his lungs, he commands them to escape while he buys them time, leaping high into the air to unleash a powerful dragon-shaped strike directly at the monster's face. Unfortunately, the massive power gap is too wide, and he is instantly swatted away like a fly. This worried squad rushes to his side, but the injured veteran grumbles that they wasted their escape. With the entire beast horde closing in, the hunters realize they must fight to the bitter end. Suddenly, Jonghan leaps into action, volunteering to draw the massive boar king away from the group, as a terrifying purple ape beast lunges forward to tear his teammates apart. Unleashing their elemental powers, the desperate hunters clash head-on with the swarming pack of predators. Meanwhile, our young hero gracefully vaults over the giant, razor-sharp tusks of the charging Beast King, desperately scanning the armored monster mid-air but finding absolutely no weaknesses on its thick hide. Narrowly dodging a lethal swipe, he lands a quick strike that barely scratches the creature's armor. Sliding back onto the cracked asphalt, the kid prepares for a brutal one-on-one battle for survival. Just then, Uncle Hu screams out that the postpartum beast's soft underbelly is completely unprotected. Hearing Uncle Long's crucial advice, our young hero immediately locks onto his target with absolute focus, deciding it is finally time to unleash all the massive energy stored inside his body, as his system screen flashes, boosting his combat power to an insane 11,000 points. With a deafening battle cry, he erupts in a blazing aura of pure crackling blue energy, leaving his veteran teammates completely frozen in shock by this sudden monstrous surge of power. They can barely believe their eyes as the rookie charges headfirst into the terrifying beast horde, effortlessly slicing through the swarming monsters while his system constantly racks up massive experience points. Vaulting high into the air, he easily evades the giant boar king's desperate heavy stomps and slides directly underneath the towering predator to target its completely exposed, soft underbelly. Channeling his lightning-infused blade, the kid prepares to unleash a devastating point-blank strike, which erupts in a massive pillar of blue energy that pierces straight through the monster's armor, sending the giant beast king into a wild, agonizing screech that echoes across the ruined streets. Unbelievably, the heavily bleeding monster refuses to fall, standing its ground with pure stubborn rage. Realizing a single hit was not enough, our boy grits his teeth for one final push. Leaping back into the air as crackling lightning wraps around his body like a storm, he delivers a spectacular, crushing blow that completely shatters the beast's remaining defenses once and for all. Instantly, his system screen goes wild, announcing that his core combat skills have successfully leveled up, while the veteran uncles stare in absolute disbelief, realizing their rookie is a literal cheat code. As the massive boar king crashes down dead, the remaining monster horde scatters in pure terror, rewarding our young hero with a massive level up after surviving his most dangerous wilderness battle yet. This veteran uncles immediately crowd around Zhang Han, completely dumbfounded by the rookie's insane combat power. Thinking fast, our boy blames his sudden strength on a secret technique manual from a mysterious friend, but his jaw drops when the veterans casually mention his missing father's past instructions. Turns out the old man specifically requested they guide Zhang Han to the wilderness after his awakening, prompting the curious teen to ask for more details before they pack up the massive carcass, though the squad decides to find a secure campsite before diving deeper into the mystery. Gathering around a warm campfire, the uncles admit his father was always a very secretive man, yet they reassure the kid that his incredible new strength will surely lead him to answers. While planning to sell their massive haul of rare materials, Zhang Han raises a suspicious point, noting it makes zero sense for a postpartum beast to abandon its nest just for revenge, which suggests another group might have slaughtered her cubs to intentionally trigger her berserk state. Uncle Hoove agrees with the theory, advising everyone to sleep before investigating the market for clues, leaving our young hero to quietly stare up at the starry night sky in deep thought. Bright and early the next morning, the squad arrives at the bustling exotic materials market, where Zhang Han watches his bank account explode with over 11 million newly deposited Alliance coins. Stepping into a high-end weapon shop, he prepares to finally upgrade his basic starter gear, instantly catching the eye of a salesman who praises his taste in legendary weaponry, presenting a gorgeous blue blade called Tai Hun that can easily withstand hundreds of tons of pressure. When the merchant reveals the hefty price tag of over 7 million coins, our wealthy young chef confidently grips the hilt, ready to make his first major purchase. Zhang Han locks in his sword purchase, and the salesman eagerly suggests checking out the armor upstairs, which instantly drains a massive 7.4 million coins from his newly loaded bank account, followed by another quick drop of 1.8 million for some high-grade defensive gauntlets. And after one final purchase, he stands fully geared up but practically broke again. Admiring his sleek new armor, our boy decides his next move is to take the promotion exam, arriving shortly after at the towering Martial Arts Association building to register his official rank. Walking through the high-tech corridors, he marvels at how incredibly fast his combat power has skyrocketed, before a receptionist directs him to calibrate his device and line up for the testing queue. Scanning the registration form, he notices that reaching the Marshal General rank unlocks a massive monthly stipend, prompting him to bypass the lower ranks entirely and apply straight for the big leagues, which leaves the examiner completely baffled when he reads the rookie's low-tier C-grade talent. This seasoned pro assumes it is a typo, telling the kid to go back and fix it. But Zhang Han confidently insists that he is exactly where he is supposed to be. Sighing at what he assumes is pure youthful arrogance, the examiner reluctantly accepts the form, leading our smiling hero upstairs to the heavy-duty practical combat arena for his official test. Stepping into the colossal chamber, the kid realizes this trial is on a completely different scale, drawing his brand new blade as the heavy steel gates slowly slide open before him. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms over his head, catching him completely off guard, forcing him to leap backward just as a giant razor-sharp claw crashes into the floor, revealing his terrifying opponent to be a roaring, high-level blazing lion ready to tear him apart. Staring at the massive predator, Jonghan realizes he is facing a terrifying Lord-level beast, and he cannot believe the association expects a rookie to solo this monster for an exam, which lets out a deafening roar that shakes the entire high-tech testing chamber. Suddenly, the giant lion lunges forward, forcing our boy to quickly dodge its razor-sharp claws, grit his teeth, and desperately search for any opening in its impenetrable defense. Activating his signature movement technique, he vaults high over the beast in a flash of lightning, landing gracefully on the cold floor while realizing the 4-meter-tall monster is simply too massive, meaning he cannot easily land a clean hit without any mid-air flight capabilities. Before he can even regroup, the furious predator corners him between its colossal paws, preparing to crush him into dust as he desperately racks his brain for a solution. Sliding backward across the arena floor, the kid reasons that every digital monster has a weakness, even if its thick outer hide seems completely immune to his physical attacks. That is when a brilliant, highly dangerous plan suddenly flashes through his mind, prompting him to tighten his grip on the hilt of his brand new blade. Since the beast's armor is impenetrable from the outside, he decides to attack from within, charging headfirst into the roaring maw of the giant lion with absolute confidence. Locking onto the glowing red target deep inside the monster's wide-open throat, our young hero leaps directly into the danger zone with his blade crackling with energy, unleashing a devastating lightning-infused critical strike that completely shatters the digital beast from the inside out. He lands perfectly as the system screen flashes to congratulate him on passing the promotion exam. Having absolutely crushed the trial, our boy receives a perfect A+ rating from the examiner, easily securing his official promotion to the prestigious Marshal General rank without breaking a single sweat. Meanwhile, the stunned examiner immediately reports the unbelievable news to the association's elderly director, who is highly impressed by an 18-year-old passing such a brutal test so quickly, but her jaw completely drops when she learns the rookie only possesses C-grade talent. Leaving the office to investigate, the mysterious old director wanders through the city streets in disguise. Back at his family restaurant, Jonghan prepares some high-grade beast porridge to replenish his exhausted energy, only for the disguised director to suddenly pull back the curtain and step inside. Greeting the young chef with a warm smile, she calls out to get his attention, prompting our polite hero to explain that the restaurant is actually closed for the day. When she admits she is starving, he happily offers to scoop her a fresh bowl, which the elderly woman eagerly gulps down with pure, unadulterated satisfaction as she savors the rich flavor. Instantly recognizing the rare wild boar meat, she praises the nostalgic taste of his cooking, while Jonghan kindly invites her to return every single morning for a free meal. Highly impressed by both his culinary skills and his golden heart, she bids him farewell, passing right by Uncle Long and Uncle Hu as they arrive at the shop entrance. Surprised by their sudden visit, our young hero eagerly asks what brings them by today, as the veterans curiously ask about the old woman before bringing up their main quest. Uncle Long reveals that the rare black-striped bamboo is finally appearing at a local auction tonight, but Uncle Hu is completely distracted by the delicious aroma, demanding a bowl of porridge first. Just as they finish talking, a delivery courier arrives at the restaurant with a long package, and our boy eagerly signs for it, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. Unboxing the package in front of his veteran uncles, he reveals a sleek, high-tech weapon case, pulling out his brand new blue blade, Taihun, which gleams with an incredibly sharp edge. His uncles are instantly impressed by its craftsmanship, curiously asking how much it set him back, prompting a sheepish smile from Jonghan as he admits it cost a cool $7 million, before they head out to the Grand Exotic Materials auction house later that evening. Stepping inside the massive luxurious venue, they find themselves surrounded by high society hunters, with elite martial artists filling up every single table in the grand hall. Uncle Hu points out that the sheer scale of this event is unusually high class, just as a glamorous female auctioneer takes the stage to introduce the first major item. Introducing herself as Tong Yun, the charismatic manager of the local exotic materials market, she reveals a legendary chest plate that once belonged to a renowned late war god, explaining that its internal defensive arrays were unfortunately damaged during a brutal final battle. Despite the damage, she confidently sets the starting bid at a staggering 10 million coins, causing the crowd to murmur about whether a broken armor is truly worth that much. Uncle Hu nudges Jonghan, whispering that this high-grade armor would actually suit him perfectly. But the kid sighs, admitting his bank account is down to his last million. Without missing a beat, Uncle Hu raises his bidding paddle and boldly bids 11 million, leaving our young hero completely speechless as he wonders how they will ever pay for it. Uncle Hu locks in the 11 million bid, reassuring Jonghan that this rare armor is worth every coin, and the glamorous auctioneer wastes no time slamming her gavel down to finalize the massive purchase. Uncle Hu explains the armor can shift forms, easily shielding our boy from low-tier Lord-level beast attacks, but the mood instantly shifts when the next item is revealed as 30 pieces of black-striped bamboo. Jonghan nearly jumps out of his seat, realizing it is the exact same material he harvested earlier, confirming his dark suspicion that someone is pulling some very dangerous strings behind the scenes. Suddenly, a scarred warrior with a massive sword boldly bids a staggering 24.8 million, demanding the crowd give him face since he needs the rare bamboo to refine a secret medicine. Uncle Long gasps in shock, recognizing the bidder as Lee Kai-shan, a legendary S-grade martial artist. Only for a sharp voice to suddenly cut through the tension with a massive 28 million bid. A sophisticated woman with glasses stands up, asking Lee Kai-shan to yield the rare materials to her, which immediately sends a wave of whispers through the crowd as they recognize her as instructor Ling An. Uncle Hu explains that she is a top-tier mentor at the prestigious Shumu University, prompting Zhang to realize this is the exact same academy his sister attends. Though Li Kaishan hesitates, explaining that his own medicine is also a matter of life and death. This clever instructor proposes they split the batch so both of them get exactly what they need, leaving the scarred warrior with no choice but to reluctantly agree to her generous compromise. With the deal struck, she confidently secures her portion of the bamboo for 28 million. And the auctioneer happily slams her gavel down to finalize yet another record-breaking sale. While the crowd gossips, Zhang Han realizes the auction house owner must know the identity of the seller. Excusing himself from the table, Zhang Han tells his uncles he is heading to the restroom, but instead of finding a bathroom, he sneaks off toward the grand staircase to investigate, quietly climbing the steps in search of the mysterious auction house owner's private office. Suddenly, two burly guards in suits block his path, warning him that the upper floor is strictly off-limits, prompting our boy to claim he has a highly valuable item to show their boss. Unfortunately, they refuse to budge, forcing him to turn back and brainstorm another way to get answers. Meeting up with his uncles outside the massive venue, he prepares for their next move, as Uncle Long mentions the armor will be delivered soon, but they still cannot identify the bamboo seller. That is when Zhang Han reveals his plan to head straight into the wilderness completely alone, which instantly leaves both of his veteran uncles staring at him in absolute disbelief. He explains that he needs to face real danger solo to truly grind his combat skills. And though Uncle Hu worries, Uncle Long steps in to support the kid's bold decision, reassuring them that he will stay safe by avoiding the deepest, most dangerous parts of the wasteland. Uncle Hu gives him one final, stern warning, reminding him that staying alive is always the top priority. With a warm smile, our young hero promises to keep that crucial advice in mind. 2 days later, he arrives at the outer walls, searching for high-density zones of general-level beasts, quickly checking his map before confidently stepping into the desolate ruins of Area 157. Right on cue, a massive horned wolf with glowing blue eyes emerges from the shadows, revealing a pair of deadly general-level predators blocking his path and ready to strike. Locking his gaze onto the beasts, our boy prepares to end this fight in one single, devastating blow. Leaping into action, our boy swings his brand-new blade to intercept the lunging predators, slicing cleanly through the first beast with a single lightning-fast horizontal slash, which leaves both giant wolves dead on the ground before they can even land. As he stands victoriously, a tiny white tiger cub suddenly emerges from the nearby bushes, growling fiercely as Zhang Han realizes the wolves were actually hunting this little guy, prompting him to walk away while kindly telling the cub to run off and stay safe. Harvesting the valuable wolf materials, he pulls up his system screen to check his progress, noting his combat power has officially soared past 12,000 with all stats over 200. Determined to keep grinding, he heads deeper into the desolate wasteland to find stronger prey. Night quickly falls over the rocky canyon, casting deep shadows across the quiet wilderness. Sitting by a cozy campfire, Zhang Han happily roasts some delicious high-value deer meat, only to suddenly freeze when the distant sound of human voices echoes through the dark. Peeking cautiously around a massive boulder, he spots 3 shady hunters approaching a hidden cave, overhearing them brag about striking it rich with a rare gold vein inside. But his eyes widen when they mention selling the black-striped bamboo last time. Realizing these are the exact guys he was looking for, he quietly tracks their movements, as the greedy leader warns his crew that a lord-level beast might guard the gold. Though his subordinates panic, the smug leader boasts that he brought a secret weapon this time, before one of them suddenly spots a strange golden glow shining deep within the cavern, prompting the excited trio to rush forward into the darkness to claim their ultimate prize. This 3 shady hunters step inside the cave and gasp at what they find, staring up at a massive, glittering vein of gold running along the cavern walls. While the Mohawk guy proudly brags that his perception talent never misses a single jackpot, suddenly a cold drop of liquid lands right on the tip of his nose, prompting them to look up and find a terrifying lord-level saber-toothed tiger staring back. With a deafening roar, the massive predator leaps down from its perch to attack, sending the greedy trio scrambling in pure panic as they realize they are totally outmatched. Watching from the shadows, Zhang Han estimates its combat power is easily over 50,000, but the smug leader refuses to run, pulling out a high-tech laser cannon instead. Ordering his terrified lackeys to distract the beast while he charges up his weapon. Showing zero loyalty, the Mohawk guy immediately shoves his bald partner right into harm's way, leaving the poor guy pinned to the ground as the tiger prepares to strike. Although his teammates scream for him to fire, the leader coldly tells them to shut up, bracing his feet against the rocky floor to stabilize the heavy sci-fi weapon, aiming directly at the beast's head while deciding his partner's life is a necessary sacrifice. Squeezing the trigger with a sinister grin, he unleashes the weapon's full destructive power, as a massive beam of purple energy blasts through the cave to engulf the target. Unfortunately for him, the smoke clears to reveal the furious beast completely unharmed, which immediately lunges forward and easily swats the arrogant leader to the ground, forcing the lone survivor to sit paralyzed with fear as their ultimate weapon lies completely abandoned. Screaming in absolute terror, the pinned leader orders his remaining lackey to quickly reload the energy block, but Jong Han quietly watches the drama unfold as the giant tiger pins the desperate boss down, while the Mohawk guy hesitates, staring at the glowing power cell with a dark look on his face. Instead of helping, the greedy subordinate coldly tells his boss to rest in peace, laughing maniacally as he decides to keep the entire gold mine for himself. This massive predator wastes no time crushing the screaming leader, ending his short-lived reign of greed, leaving the traitorous lackey to kneel and aim his heavy weapon at the beast, locking his target with a sinister grin as he prepares to unleash the ultimate blast. A blinding beam of purple energy erupts from the cannon, tearing straight through the cavern, prompting our boy to marvel at the sheer destructive power of the high-tech weapon. Realizing this is his best chance, Jong Han draws his gleaming blue blade to strike, while the smoke clears to reveal the giant tiger lying defeated on the ground. But before the traitor can celebrate his victory, he suddenly senses a hostile presence nearby. Leaping from the shadows, our hero unleashes a lightning-fast strike that completely disarms the startled hunter, leaving the villain paralyzed on his knees as Jong Han confronts him for his ruthless betrayal, walking forward slowly while confirming these shady hunters were indeed behind the wild boar incident. This terrified traitor stammers in disbelief, wondering how this kid survived and grew so powerful, but our boy simply raises his blade, declaring that bad deeds always catch up to you, swinging his sharp weapon in one swift, decisive arc to deliver absolute justice, ending the scum's life once and for all as blood splatters across the dark cavern. Standing over the defeated hunter, Jong Han declares that justice has finally been served, but his victory is cut short when the giant saber-toothed tiger suddenly roars back to life, forcing our boy to quickly block a massive swipe from the furious lord-level predator, as he slides backward across the rocky floor and braces for a brutal showdown. Leaping high into the air, he aims a decisive downward strike at the beast's head, driving his sharp blade deep into its back to test its incredibly tough hide, which only makes the giant tiger roar in pain and leap wildly to shake him off. Clinging tightly to its thick fur, Jong Han refuses to let go of his weapon, while the panicked beast charges blindly through the cavern, smashing everything in its path, carrying our young hero deeper into the dark, winding tunnels of the gold mine. Looking around, Jong Han notices the glowing gold veins and realizes the beast's plan, knowing he must stop it before it can absorb the raw energy of the mine. Meanwhile, the giant predator continues its desperate sprint through the narrow underground passages. He reasons that a metal attribute beast absorbing this gold would become completely unstoppable, prompting him to channel every ounce of his lightning energy directly into his blade, unleashing a massive electrical surge that shocks the giant tiger with pure destructive power. This resulting blast sends Jong Han flying backward, crashing hard against the stone floor, until the smoke clears to reveal the mighty lord-level beast finally lying dead nearby. Suddenly, his system screens light up with massive experience gains, officially unlocking the pet module, leaving our exhausted hero to nurse his broken ribs while planning his next move. Pulling up his system screen, Jong Han notices his combat power has skyrocketed to over 23,000, but a sudden rustling sound in the dark cavern immediately cuts his celebration short, whipping around with his blade drawn only to find a familiar beast creeping up on him. Turns out the adorable little white tiger cub has followed him all the way inside, prompting our boy to offer it a piece of raw energy ore to test its appetite, which the hungry little beast happily snatches out of the air with an excited leap. Chewing down on the hard mineral, the cub looks absolutely thrilled with its delicious treat, triggering a sudden system notification that asks if he wants to form a mass pet bond. Deciding the little guy is way too cute to pass up, he taps the screen, officially finalizing the contract to make the rare gold-eyed white tiger his loyal companion. Glowing with a soft blue light, the cub affectionately nuzzles against his hand to seal the deal, revealing its impressive A-rank growth potential and a unique metal-softening talent on the status screen. After harvesting the massive tiger's corpse in the gold vein, he prepares to head back, arriving at the Iron Frontline's busy field hospital to finally get his broken ribs treated, where a helpful nurse carefully wraps his chest in bandages while his new pet watches closely. She cannot help but gush over the cub, admitting she has never seen such a cute beast, as our proud hero introduces his adorable new partner by the name of Xiao Bai. Although she orders him to rest, he insists on heading straight to the market to sell his loot, leaving the exhausted nurse to sigh at how reckless these wasteland hunters can truly be, before he confidently approaches the trading post with his tiny companion peeking out of his backpack. Jong Han steps into the local trading post, calling out to Boss Hua to sell his latest loot. This merchant warmly welcomes our boy back, curious about what kind of beast materials he brought this time. Smiling confidently, Jong Han activates his high-tech storage ring while his cute little cub hitches a ride. Boss Hua nearly jumps out of his skin when a massive lord-level tiger corpse drops onto the floor. He assumes our hero squad must be incredibly overpowered to take down such a legendary beast, but Jong Han casually drops the bomb that he actually promoted to Marshal General already, leaving the merchant completely speechless as they finally get down to discussing the payout. Boss Hua taps away on his tablet, offering a massive 8 million credits for the pristine corpse, which our boy happily accepts before waving goodbye to head out and enjoy his massive payday. Suddenly, the merchant calls out to stop him, wearing a very intrigued look on his face. Turning back with a puzzled expression, Jong Han wonders what else this greedy businessman could possibly want, as Boss Hua explains that these specific tigers are only found near extremely rare gold veins. Our hero admits he has the gold, but claims he is not quite ready to sell, prompting the merchant to offer a direct meeting with his boss to handle such a massive deal. leading the way upstairs with an eager gesture to get the high-stakes negotiations started. Following closely behind, Jonghan carries his tiny white tiger cub up the wooden steps, until they reach a grand set of double doors marked with a golden scale symbol. This merchant politely opens the door, inviting our young hunter inside to meet the big boss, only for Jonghan to freeze in surprise when he recognizes the elegant woman waiting inside, who smiles warmly and introduces herself as the top manager ready to buy his entire gold mine. Holding his newly loaded bank card, Jonghan smiles at his massive 90 million credit payout. Deciding to take a quiet alleyway back, he hopes to avoid any unnecessary trouble. But a sudden chime from his system screen catches him completely off guard. Turns out, completing his 1,000-kill quest rewards him with a highly coveted extra talent slot. Pulling out the glowing blue awakening stone, our boy prepares to unlock his third talent, only for a massive surge of wild lightning to instantly erupt from the artifact, prompting the system to automatically absorb the chaotic energy blocking his successful awakening, while he screams in agony as blinding electrical currents shoot straight into the sky. Fortunately, the painful process pays off when he officially unlocks the legendary S-rank Thunderbolt talent, leaving him panting on the ground in absolute disbelief at his incredible luck. Although the power is immense, his body aches from his currently weak control over it. However, checking his status screen reveals his combat power has skyrocketed past 33,000. Realizing he must master this volatile element quickly, he closes the glowing blue interface, before gesturing for his cute little white tiger companion to hop back inside his bag, which the adorable cub happily does, peeking out with wide, curious golden eyes. Walking home, Jonghan worries about the upcoming college entrance exams without a proper mentor. 3 days later, students gather outside the school gates to anxiously discuss their future university options. Meanwhile, his loyal friend offers him a cozy corporate job if he attends Kyoto University. Yet our boy politely declines, revealing his true ambition is to enter a prestigious martial academy, shocking his buddy completely just as a group of elite martial artists walks right past them. Jonghan recognizes the legendary Lee Chongyang, wondering why a high-level powerhouse is attending a student exam. Meanwhile, inside a high-level military meeting room, a tense debate is currently taking place, where a masked commander argues that their new, brutal combat exam has already been officially approved. But the compassionate Elder Su immediately shuts him down, reminding everyone that these candidates are still just kids, pointing out that sending weak students into the deadly wasteland is basically a death sentence. This commander counters that beast tides are worsening, meaning these kids must learn to survive on their own, suddenly dropping to his knees with a heavy metallic thud to show his absolute resolve, begging the elder to understand that this harsh decision is backed by the country's top leaders, promising that his elite squad will do everything possible to keep student casualties to a minimum. Realizing she cannot stop the inevitable, the old woman sighs and slowly turns to leave, muttering that the future belongs to the young and they can run it how they see fit. Rising to his feet, the masked commander quietly thanks her for finally stepping aside, before assigning Lee Chongyang to oversee the upcoming martial exams for the local academies. Once the other high-ranking officials clear out of the spacious conference room, this commander gasps in shock when he hears that his subordinate encountered Brother Cheng's son, which Lee Chongyang confidently confirms, even if he cannot prove it with absolute certainty, prompting the thrilled leader to order him to secretly keep a very close eye on the boy. Back at the school, a massive crowd of anxious students gathers on the outdoor track, watching as Lee Chongyang steps up to the stage alongside the school's faculty members, leaving Jonghan to whisper to his buddy that the legendary warrior is indeed running their exam. Lee Chongyang announces that this year's exam has been changed to a live combat test in the dangerous wasteland, prompting a wave of panic among the students who complain about the sudden life-threatening change, while Jonghan silently senses that something much bigger must be happening behind the scenes. This examiner barks that anyone lacking the courage to fight beasts has no business becoming a martial artist, giving the crowd a final choice to either step up or walk away immediately. Terrified of the deadly wilderness, several students quickly pack up and leave to save their own skins. But Haozi decides to stay, refusing to call his dad, who would definitely stop him from going. He claps Jonghan on the shoulder, joking that he must tag along to protect his weak buddy, leaving the remaining candidates exactly 15 minutes to prepare before the official transport train departs. Soon, the armored train speeds across the desolate plains toward the designated testing grounds. As the examiner explains, they can form teams of up to 5 to hunt beasts for points, prompting the excited students inside the carriages to immediately start recruiting members with high combat power. Although Jonghan prefers working alone, Haozi insists on finding 3 more decent teammates to fill their roster, telling our hero to sit back and relax while he handles all the recruitment himself. Stepping off the train, the students listen as the announcer explains the point system for different beast tiers, revealing that scoring enough points for a top university is going to be an absolute nightmare, and Haozi immediately points toward a nearby forest, suggesting they head there to start their hunt. Watching from the train platform, Lee Chongyang keeps his eyes locked onto Jonghan, quietly muttering that he cannot wait to see what Brother Cheng's son is truly capable of, until the newly formed 5-member squad finally gathers under a massive tree to plan their first move. Jonghan silently evaluates his new teammates, noting their decent combat power of around 800. Haozi immediately suggests they need a team captain, enthusiastically nominating our boy for the job. But the blonde warrior objects, pointing out that Jonghan only has a weak C-rank talent. Feeling outnumbered, the skeptic backs down and grumpily tells them to ask the others instead. So our hero steps in to defuse the tension, pulling out a map to share his strategy. explaining that this specific route is packed with low-level beasts perfect for their current strength, which convinces the entire squad to follow his lead as he assigns clear combat roles. Walking down the quiet forest path, Haozi happily brags about how great their leader is, only for Zhang to suddenly halt the group, sensing danger lurking just ahead. Dust explodes in the distance as our boy warns everyone to brace for an impact, revealing a massive, yellow-eyed rhino beast charging straight toward them with terrifying speed. Overexcited by the target, Haoz recklessly rushes forward despite his friend's urgent warnings. Getting instantly launched high into the air by the beast's brutal headbutt, our hero quickly takes command, shouting precise tactical orders to coordinate their defense, prompting the rest of the team to immediately snap into action without hesitation, while Haozi recovers and swings his massive blade with a fierce battle cry, landing a coordinated strike that successfully brings the giant beast crashing down. Exhausted but thrilled, the rookie hunters collapse onto the grass to celebrate their victory, as Zhang rushes over to make sure nobody sustained any serious injuries, earning the deep respect of his teammates who praise his incredible composure under pressure. Zhang tags the rhino beast's corpse, explaining that their combined power should have killed it faster. He turns to Haozi, giving him direct advice on how to manage his strength during combat. Next, our hero addresses the rest of the team, pointing out their tactical mistakes and positioning errors. Rubbing his chin, Zhang realizes that being a team captain is actually a lot of work. As they walk deeper into the woods, Haozi asks how he got so much wasteland survival experience. But our boy suddenly throws his arm out, sensing a fresh threat approaching them from the shadows. 3 giant red-eyed rats burst out of the bushes, charging straight toward the rookie squad. Reacting instantly, the vanguard members leap forward with their weapons raised to intercept the incoming pests. A chaotic skirmish erupts in the clearing as the team coordinates their strikes against the agile beasts. Haozi laughs maniacally as he swings his sword, slicing cleanly through one of the giant rodents. Watching the clean strike, Zhang praises his friend's improvement and urges everyone to keep up the teamwork. After clearing the threat, our hero suggests they take a quick break to recover their stamina. This 5 students sit in a circle under a massive tree, happily munching on dry rations. Suddenly, Haozi checks his holographic wrist screen and gasps in shock at the current leaderboard standings. Their team is currently sitting at a measly 76 points, ranking them way down at 2,584. This other teammates look incredibly discouraged, realizing the top squads already have over 500 points. While Haozi panics, Zhang remains completely calm, secretly planning to take the top spot by day 3. Standing up abruptly, our hero stretches his legs, prompting his friend to ask where he is going. He flashes a reassuring smile, telling them he is just going to forage for some better food, and soon enough the delicious smell of roasted venison fills the night air under the full moon. Sitting around the campfire, the team happily devours the delicious venison while praising their captain's cooking. But their peaceful dinner is suddenly interrupted when a bright yellow light shoots into the sky. Pointing toward the glowing signal flare, the female teammate warns everyone that something is seriously wrong, leaving Zhang and the rest of the squad staring in absolute shock at the horizon. Suddenly, the ground begins to violently tremble as a massive cloud of dust rises in the distance. A terrifying Tier 2 beast tide of red-eyed monsters stampedes forward, destroying everything in its path, prompting the panicked students to immediately scatter and run back toward the safety of the defense line. Meanwhile, the alarming news of the sudden disaster quickly reaches the high-level military command center, where operators report that the massive beast tide is rapidly spreading across the entire student testing zone. Grabbing his head in frustration, the commander orders an immediate evacuation broadcast to save the candidates, urging his staff to move as fast as possible before the situation becomes completely unsalvageable. Loud emergency sirens echo across the dark forest, ordering all students to retreat to the steel wall, but chaos erupts instantly as terrified rookies scream and run from the oncoming horde of monsters, and a sudden shockwave blasts one of Zhang teammates straight into the air. Haozi and the others watch in horror as their companion crashes heavily onto the dirt path. Terrified for her own life, their female teammate selfishly flees the scene, leaving them behind to die. Yet Haozi bravely charges back into the danger zone while the injured boy begs them to escape, only for the remaining trio to find themselves completely surrounded by a pack of snarling, red-eyed wolves, and just as a massive beast looms over them to deliver a final fatal blow. Zhang steps forward with absolute calm, ready to unleash his true power to protect his friends. Drawing his lightning-infused blade, Zhang warns his teammates that this fight is way out of their league. Blue electricity crackles violently around him, transforming our quiet hero into an absolute powerhouse, leaving Haozi and the others staring in utter disbelief at their supposedly weak C-rank captain. Our boy launches himself high into the air, diving straight toward the terrifying horde of monsters. Slicing through the air with blinding speed, his lightning blade cuts down the giant beasts effortlessly. He lands smoothly amidst the fallen monsters, looking like a literal god of thunder, which prompts a completely flabbergasted Haozi to scream about how this makes absolutely zero sense. Zhang barks at them to stop staring and run for their lives while he holds the line, forcing the rookies to realize they are only holding him back as they scramble towards safety. With his friends finally out of harm's way, our hero can finally unleash his full power, charging directly into the thick of the beast tide to start his massive farming session, shredding every monster that dares to cross his path with electrified precision. He goads the remaining wolves to bring it on, completely unfazed by their overwhelming numbers. A massive pillar of lightning erupts, obliterating the entire pack of beasts in a single flash. Multiple system windows immediately pop up, showering him with massive experience points and skill mastery upgrades. Meanwhile, the guards at the massive steel wall announce the gates will close in 5 minutes. Haozi and his remaining teammates finally reach safety, frantically explaining that their captain is still missing. But a stern, long-haired officer suddenly blocks their path as Haozi tries to run back out. This mysterious warrior asks if they are indeed the squad members who were with Jiang Han, prompting Haozi to beg for immediate backup to save his friend from the deadly monster horde. Hearing Haozi's desperate plea, the serious officer narrows his eyes with intense determination, immediately sprinting out of the safe zone to search for the missing prodigy, silently praying that the son of his legendary old friend manages to survive. Deep in the dark forest, Jiang Han is already busy fighting a massive red-furred wild bear, unleashing a devastating lightning strike that slices the giant beast clean in half, which instantly triggers a system notification rewarding him with massive experience points and skill mastery. Before our hero can even catch his breath, a terrifying roar echoes through the trees, revealing an intermediate Lord-tier bear king that absolutely dwarfs the previous monster in size, swinging a massive uprooted tree trunk straight at our boy with earth-shattering force. Reacting instantly, Jiang Han leaps back and fires a high-voltage blast of electricity, but the colossal beast simply charges right through the attack without taking any damage, leaving our shocked protagonist to realize this monster is way tankier than anything he faced before. Knowing he cannot pierce its defense with normal attacks, he decides to unleash his hidden trump card, stealing his resolve as the massive shadow of the beast looms directly over him, ready to crush him into a complete pancake with another giant uprooted tree trunk. Dodging the devastating slam by a hair's breadth, our hero flips gracefully through the air, commanding his system to immediately release all of his stored energy reserves, instantly triggering a massive attribute boost that sends blue electricity surging through his body. Now completely overflowing with godlike power, Jiang Han grips his blade with absolute confidence, launching himself forward to deliver a final, devastating strike to end this battle once and for all. Jiang Han drives his lightning-confused blade directly into the massive bear, refusing to back down. He pours every ounce of his remaining energy into the strike to break through its defense, unleashing a massive explosion of blue electricity that completely engulfs the colossal beast. Thick smoke rises from the impact zone as the giant monster struggles to stand. Landing gracefully on one knee, our exhausted hero catches his breath amidst the lingering danger. But the furious Bear King glares back with glowing red eyes, still clinging to life, only to suddenly turn around and try to flee the battlefield like a total coward, which makes our boy laugh, since he already wasted his best energy burst on this fight. So he leaps high into the air to hurl a devastating sphere of pure lightning. Meanwhile, the powerful officer Li Chongyang flies through the dark sky searching for his friend's son, desperately scanning the chaotic forest below while praying the young prodigy is still alive. Suddenly, his earpiece crackles with urgent orders to immediately fall back to the defense line. But a massive pillar of blue lightning suddenly erupts in the distance, catching his attention. Realizing a high-level battle is happening nearby, he decides to investigate the massive energy signature, rocketing toward the coordinates at maximum speed to see who is causing such destruction. Back at the clearing, Jiang Han's final attack completely obliterates the fleeing Bear King. Standing victoriously on the massive corpse, he smiles as his system awards him massive experience points. Just then, Li Chongyang lands nearby, staring in absolute shock at the giant fallen beast, leaving our hero surprised to see the legendary warrior standing right in front of him, while the veteran officer silently realizes this kid just soloed a Lord-tier monster with ease. Looking at the carnage, Li Chongyang asks if our boy really caused all this destruction. Jiang Han quickly plays it off, claiming a temporary power-boosting potion saved his life. This veteran officer advises him to retreat immediately, warning that the beast's tide is spreading rapidly. Leaping back into the sky, the powerful warrior heads off to rescue other stranded students. Left alone, our hero decides to quickly harvest some valuable loot before leaving the area. Moving through the canopy, he gets a clear view of the massive monster horde below. Suddenly, a desperate cry for help echoes through the dark woods, catching his attention. Two terrified female students are trapped high in a tree, surrounded by snarling predators. This older girl desperately reassures her crying companion, promising they will make it out alive. But a massive black bear suddenly slams into the trunk with earth-shattering force. Shaking the entire tree violently, the impact completely throws the girls off their balance. Screaming in absolute terror, the younger girl slips and falls straight toward the ground. Her friend barely manages to catch her hand, leaving her dangling precariously in midair. Straining with all her might, the older girl begs her companion to hold on tight. Looking down, the dangling girl freezes as a vicious beast leaps up to grab her. This hungry monster scrambles up the bark, closing the distance with terrifying speed. But a sudden flash of blue lightning cuts through the darkness to intercept the threat. Jiang Han descends like a god of thunder, his electrified blade crackling with immense power. Seeing their savior arrive, the younger girl cries out in absolute relief and joy. With a single swift strike, our hero unleashes a devastating lightning slash to obliterate the beasts. This rescued girls sigh in absolute relief, believing their nightmare is finally over. But the purple-haired girl suddenly loses her footing and plummets toward the ground below, only for Jiang Han to swoop in and catch her mid-air with effortless grace, channeling his crackling blue lightning to safely glide them down to the forest floor. Gently setting her down, our hero calmly asks if she sustained any serious injuries, prompting her to blush deeply while her companion rushes over to check on her. Handing them a recovery potion, Jiang Han instructs the duo to head straight for the defense line, brushing off their gratitude since he still has plenty of monsters left to hunt. Rocketing back into the night sky, he leaves the girls behind in a trail of blue light. But a massive, distant explosion suddenly catches his attention and makes him pause, especially when an emergency military broadcast warns that multiple Overlord-tier beasts have gathered at the core. Knowing his current level might not be enough to face such overwhelming threats, he hesitates. Yet his curiosity gets the better of him as he flies directly toward the danger zone. Arriving at the coordinates, he witnesses a chaotic storm of lightning and massive flying monsters, where Li Chongyang and another elite warrior find themselves completely surrounded by colossal overlord beasts. This secondary officer reports that military backup will take at least 30 minutes to arrive, leaving the brave veterans to act as bait against 6 world-ending monsters. As a giant glowing-eyed beast glares down at them with pure hatred. Suddenly, a massive dragon unleashes a devastating beam of yellow energy to obliterate the humans, but Li Chongyang swings his sword with absolute defiance, ready to fight to his very last breath. Facing down a massive winged tiger, Li Chongyang prepares to unleash his ultimate sword technique. With a fierce battle cry, he swings his blade to unleash a massive purple energy wave, sending the giant beast crashing down into the rushing river below in a massive splash. Unfortunately, the commotion only attracts even more high-level monsters, leaving the 2 veterans completely surrounded. But Li Chongyang refuses to back down, urging his partner to hold the line until backup arrives. Suddenly, a massive beam of blue lightning tears through the sky, obliterating several monsters in an instant. This remaining beasts screech in absolute terror as the unexpected electrical storm completely disrupts their coordinated assault, while a lone warrior descends from the clouds like a literal god of thunder, revealing none other than Zhang Han, who is armed with his high-tech lightning weapon and looking ready for war. Recognizing the young prodigy, Li Chongyang gasps in shock while his masked partner wonders if this kid is suicidal, only to realize this crazy newcomer is actually the son of their legendary old comrade. Landing heavily on a nearby boulder, our hero braces himself for the next wave of enemies, charging up his weapon with crackling blue electricity as he goads the terrifying beasts to bring it on. Multiple system windows immediately flash before his eyes, rewarding him with massive experience points for his previous kill. Looking up at the massive flying serpent circling overhead, he calmly prepares to unleash his next devastating attack, screaming in absolute fury as the blue lightning surges violently through his entire body, launching himself directly into the air to deliver a devastating strike that cuts through the monster horde. This display of godlike power leaves the masked officer completely speechless at how an 18-year-old can fight like this, silently marveling at the kid's insane combat potential while the battle continues to rage around them. Another massive winged beast plummets into the water below, completely defeated by our hero's overwhelming strength. A terrifying winged tiger with glowing yellow stripes roars, ready to tear everything apart. Suddenly, the colossal beast locks its eyes on Zhang Han and dives straight down. Refusing to run, our hero grips his electrified blade and prepares to face the threat. Launching himself into the sky, he charges headfirst into a clash of pure suicide, while the veteran officers watch in absolute horror, screaming for the kid to fall back. Unfortunately, the sheer power of the Overlord-tier monster sends our boy flying backward, crashing into the rocky ground below with a massive earth-shattering explosion that kicks up dust, leaving him lying battered and bleeding in a crater, completely unable to move. This arrogant beast descends slowly, mocking the pathetic weakness of the human race, glaring down with glowing yellow eyes as it prepares to deliver the final blow. Desperately, Li Chongyang tries to reach him, but the distance is simply too great. Staring up at the sky, our heavily injured protagonist wonders if his journey ends here, reaching out a trembling hand as the shadow of death looms directly over him. But a massive golden pillar suddenly crashes down from the heavens to block the attack, forcing the startled monster back as the golden barrier stands completely unshaken. From the clouds, a legendary masked general named Yang Huan descends with absolute authority. This powerful newcomer commands his allies to regroup while he handles the winged beast, giving Li Chongyang a massive sigh of relief now that real backup has arrived. While the furious tiger charges forward, gathering a destructive red energy sphere in its jaws, Yang Huan stands his ground, ready to unleash his own godlike power against the threat. Yang Huan drives his golden spear downward with absolute earth-shattering force to protect our boy, sending the massive winged tiger crashing into the riverbed while Zhang Han watches in awe. Barely clinging to consciousness, our heavily injured hero can only grimace through the pain, marveling at the legendary general who is currently soloing multiple high-level dragons at once. Realizing this is the true godlike power of a warrior ranked far above a marquise, which completely redefines what real combat capability looks like in this dangerous world. Ordering his men to secure the area, the masked general immediately prepares to evacuate our boy, rushing the unconscious prodigy straight to the nearest military hospital for emergency treatment. Red lights flicker outside the operating room as the doctors fight to save his life, while Yang Huan uses a holographic communicator to report the situation to his family, only to get absolutely blasted by Zhang Han's furious aunt, who threatens to end him, refusing to listen to any excuses before hanging up to rush over to the hospital, leaving the powerful general to sigh in absolute dread of the incoming family drama. Fortunately, a doctor finally steps out of the operating room to deliver some news, prompting the anxious general to quickly ask about the young warrior's current condition. This surgeon confirms the operation was a success, though the kid remains asleep from blood loss. Suddenly, the aunt storms down the hallway and aggressively grabs Yang Huan by his collar, demanding to know why he failed to protect her precious nephew in the wilderness. pointing out that sending an 18-year-old against an overlord-tier beast is complete madness. But the general calmly reminds her that the boy's father already approved this dangerous path. Back at the hospital, Jonghan's aunt refuses to keep the family secrets any longer, demanding to tell him everything, even going as far as demanding the military's most legendary dragon-scale armor to keep him safe. But the general warns that giving an amateur such overpowered gear will only paint a massive target on his back. Despite his logical warnings, she hysterically screams that she just wants to protect her nephew from any more pain, breaking down in tears as she remembers how much the poor kid has suffered since childhood, prompting the hardened general to gently place a comforting hand on her shoulder to calm her down, promising to recruit our boy into his personal squad to personally watch over him 24/7. Meanwhile, inside a deep dream, Jonghan reaches out toward a mysterious glowing woman in a white dress, desperately asking if this gentle soul is actually his long-lost mother as she slowly fades away, leaving him with only her name echoing in the void as his hand grasps empty air. Suddenly, our hero gasps awake with a desperate scream, his hand still reaching for the ceiling, sitting up in his hospital bed to realize he is finally safe behind the steel defense line. Just then, the quiet creak of the hospital door, breaking the silence, catches his attention, revealing the masked general, who calmly steps inside to check on the young warrior's condition, prompting our confused protagonist to immediately ask exactly how long he has been out of commission. Taking off his mask, the veteran officer reveals he slept for 3 whole days while the beast tide ended, delivering the grim news of massive student casualties before Jonghan anxiously asks about his own teammates. Fortunately, his friends are perfectly fine and have all qualified for the elite academy thanks to his heroics. But the general turns to the window, mentioning there is one more crucial offer to consider, officially introducing himself as Yang Huan and offering our boy a coveted spot in his legendary Phantom Squad. Yang Huan explains that every member of the Phantom Squad is at least a Marquis-tier powerhouse. Hearing that his respected senior Lee Chongyang is also on the team, Jonghan eagerly accepts. This general welcomes him but tells him to rest, though our stubborn hero insists he is fine. Suddenly, Yang Huan mentions that Jonghan's teammate Chang Hao got arrested after a massive fight. Learning that his best friend is locked up, the young warrior immediately demands to see him. Meanwhile, at the military holding cells, an angry veteran officer is busy screaming at the guards. This loud newcomer is Qian Ongguo, who demands they release his cowardly son, Qian Feng. While the spoiled brat begs for rescue, Chang Hao sits quietly in the corner, thoroughly unimpressed. But as the angry father claims the military has no right to detain his precious boy, this general suddenly arrives with Zhenghan in tow, completely shutting down the loud veteran's complaints. Spotting his best friend alive and well, Chang Hao calls out in absolute relief from his cell, yet the arrogant father refuses to back down, demanding to know why his son was arrested, prompting the general to calmly explain how Qian Feng betrayed other hunters to save his own skin. Screaming that this is slander, the furious father demands concrete proof before anyone gets punished. But before the argument can escalate, Zhang Han steps forward to handle the situation himself, leaving his locked-up teammate completely stunned as our hero calmly walks toward the angry veteran, who immediately glares down at the kid, demanding to know what right a brat has to interfere. Taking a firm step forward in his simple hospital slippers, Zhang Han maintains absolute composure, suggesting they settle this dispute the old-fashioned way since his brother was the one injured, boldly declaring that he will settle the score by challenging Qian Feng to a formal duel. Chang Hao explains how the cowardly Qian Feng betrayed their comrades and nearly got them all killed. Worried about his friend's severe injuries, Chang Hao questions if a life-or-death duel is really necessary. Meanwhile, their blonde teammate steps forward with a deeply serious expression on his face. Zhao Gang sincerely apologizes for his past arrogance, pledging his absolute loyalty to our hero for saving them. General Yang Huan schedules the duel for 5 hours later, promising to keep the corrupt father from interfering. Hearing that they officially qualified for the elite academy, the teammates celebrate their unexpected success. This general warns them to prepare carefully, specifically telling Jiang Han to mind his unhealed wounds. Flashing a confident smile, our hero reassures everyone that he will see them on the battlefield. Soon, a massive crowd gathers around the military arena, eagerly waiting for the highly anticipated clash. Standing across the ring, the arrogant traitor points mockingly and promises to show him real despair. This referee steps forward to announce the strict rules of this official life-or-death contract. Raising his hand high, the official declares that the brutal match is officially ready to begin. Spectators in the stands cheer loudly for the spoiled brat as he confidently unsheathes his blade. His corrupt father smugly tells him to make it quick so they can celebrate his victory tonight. But our hero's loyal friends shout from the sidelines, desperately cheering for Zhang Han to win, while the arrogant father whispers to Li Chongyang that the kid will not survive the day. Qian Feng sneers that raw combat power is something that mere friendship can never hope to overcome, threatening to slowly torture our hero's friends once he finishes slicing the kid to pieces. Maintaining absolute composure, Zhang Han calmly tells the delusional brat to give it his best shot, prompting the furious traitor to leap high into the air, swinging his sword down with murderous intent. Qian Feng swings down with absolute confidence, expecting to slice our boy in half right away, while the crowd gasps in awe at the traitor's supposedly legendary A-grade saber talent. But Zhang Han just smirks, completely unimpressed by a style that is absolutely riddled with basic openings, ducking low to execute a lightning-fast counter before his opponent can even register what is happening, and with a single effortless flick, he shatters the spoiled brat's stance entirely, sending the traitor's weapon flying high into the air to impale itself deep into the concrete. Up in the stands, his corrupt father screams in absolute disbelief, desperately urging his son to get serious, though the disarmed brat tries to play it cool, claiming he doesn't even need a weapon to win. Gritting his teeth in pure humiliation, the arrogant coward lets out a furious, hateful insult, charging forward with a desperate punch that lacks any real form or tactical discipline. Unfortunately for him, our hero calmly raises his hand, summoning a massive sphere of crackling blue lightning, leaving the corrupt father completely terrified as he recognizes the godlike tier of this high-level technique. Desperately, the old man screams for his son to run, but the gap is already closed, as Jonghan channels the full, devastating power of his lightning directly into his fist, unleashing a brutal strike that blasts the screaming traitor clear across the entire military arena. Smoking and twitching from the massive electrical shock, the defeated bully lies completely motionless on the floor. Blinded by rage, the corrupt father leaps over the railing, swearing to murder our boy on the spot, only for Lee Chongyang to instantly flash step in, blocking the old man with absolute authority, coldly reminding him that interfering in an official life-or-death duel is punishable by immediate execution. This leaves the furious veteran officer to simply glare in absolute, helpless hatred at the powerful commander. This corrupt father screams in absolute fury, but Lee Chongyang firmly blocks him from entering the ring, while the defeated traitor lies twitching on the ground, barely able to mutter a single word. Standing tall, Jonghan coldly reminds the coward that betraying fellow hunters is an unforgivable sin, channeling another surge of crackling blue lightning to deliver the final decisive blow, leaving the terrified bully to stare up in absolute horror as his fate is sealed. With a massive electrical blast, our hero completely vaporizes whatever was left of his opponent's pride, prompting the hysterical father to charge forward, swearing to murder our boy on the spot, only for the powerful commander to instantly deploy a massive purple energy shield to block him, calmly warning the old man that endangering the crowd will carry severe military consequences. Realizing he is completely outmatched, the corrupt veteran can only scream in absolute helpless frustration, burning with a furious aura as he realizes he cannot touch the kid today, pointing a trembling finger at our hero and swearing that this grudge is far from over. Ordering his men to carry his beaten son away, the bitter old man retreats for now, leaving Jonghan and the commander to watch them leave with absolute quiet indifference. Turning back to the arena, the commander announces that the official exam results are finally ready, explaining that despite the chaotic beast tide, every student's hunting score has been carefully calculated, revealing a massive holographic scoreboard that places Jonghan's squad at the absolute top, which leaves the entire stadium gasping in shock at their impossibly high point total, even surprising our boys' teammates, who stare at the screen in absolute wide-eyed disbelief. Before the commander wraps up the event, telling the qualified students to prepare for what comes next. Before our boy can leave, the general stops him to introduce him to a few key people, and though he is exhausted, Jonghan agrees and follows the commander down the quiet corridor. They step into a high-tech briefing room where the elite squad is already waiting for them, prompting Yang Huan to introduce the legendary members of the Phantom Squad to their newest recruit. First up is Li Miao, a high-tier Marcus powerhouse possessing a legendary S-grade water element talent, followed by Wang Jinhu, a mid-tier Marcus who wields the devastating power of S-grade metal element, while the final member is Shu Ran, a mid-tier Marcus specializing in S-grade amplification abilities. These veterans welcome him warmly, joking that they are actually old enough to be his father's peers. But this casual comment immediately catches Jonghan's attention, making him ask if they knew his dad. Realizing they let too much slip, the veterans quickly laugh it off as a mere lucky guess, leaving our hero highly suspicious as he watches their overly nervous reactions and forced smiles. Although he knows they are hiding something, he decides not to push the issue for now. Breaking the tension, the general advises him to return home and rest until his wounds fully heal, which sounds like a great plan since our tired protagonist hasn't seen his family in ages. Once the kid departs, the atmosphere shifts as the squad members quietly discuss his true identity, confirming that he is indeed their old comrade's son and carries his father's exact same heroic aura. 7 days later, a familiar old lady arrives at Jianghan's home to check on his recovery, finding our boy busy in the kitchen preparing a delicious bowl of special venison porridge for her. She asks about his recent injuries, but he casually downplays the entire beast-tide incident, prompting the sweet grandmother to smile warmly and praise him for growing into such a capable warrior. Jonghan explains that he wants to train harder in the wilderness, planning to head out right after his meal, prompting the sweet grandmother to ask about his primary elemental attribute, which he admits he hasn't even considered yet, as she gently advises him that choosing a main element early is crucial for maximizing his combat potential. Wishing him safety on his journey, she thanks him for the delicious porridge before they wrap up their quiet lunch. Soon, a massive crowd of newly admitted elite students gathers on a bridge, ready for their grueling special training, cheering in absolute excitement as the instructors announce a brutal 600-kilometer march to the designated wetlands, sending the entire group of young warriors marching down a dusty canyon trail to begin their trial, while our hero walks calmly among them, sporting a brand new set of high-tech red and silver armor, which immediately catches the eye of his masked teammate, who compliments his fresh gear and tells him to keep up, though Jonghan politely asks if he can temporarily slip away to handle a quick personal matter. Trusting his incredible strength, she easily grants permission but warns him to catch up as soon as possible, leaving our boy to instantly dash off into the dense forest while she watches him disappear, prompting the squad's long-haired commander to step forward and curiously ask where the kid is heading. only for the masked warrior to reassure him that Zhang Han is more than capable of handling himself nearby. Leaping effortlessly through the high canopy, our hero moves with lightning speed to reach his secret destination. Landing softly on the forest floor as he realizes he has finally arrived at the correct spot, calling out loudly for his loyal companion, Xiao Bai, to come out and meet him. Suddenly, a massive rustle in the bushes catches his attention, making him turn around with a sharp glare, only for a giant ferocious white tiger to suddenly leap out of the shadows directly toward him, which turns out to be his adorable pet, happily licking his face after growing into a massive beast. Zhang Han tells his giant white tiger that they need to hurry up and rejoin the main group, while the massive line of newly admitted elite students continues their grueling march down the canyon trail. Suddenly, a few alert trainees spot a massive dust cloud kicking up in the distance, recognizing the approaching beast as a highly dangerous mid-tier general-level white tiger, prompting the overconfident rookies to eagerly prepare a battle formation to show off their skills. But their excitement quickly turns to absolute confusion when they spot a rider on its back. Realizing that someone actually tamed this monstrous beast, the trainees wisely decide to stand down, as a couple of female students instantly recognize the rider as their mysterious savior, with our hero casually dismounting to walk alongside his giant, purring companion. Zhao Gang nervously asks if this terrifying tiger is really safe to be around, but the long-haired commander quickly interrupts, telling them to rejoin the main group immediately. Walking back, Zhang Han asks his teammates if they know what this training entails, only for the shy girl from earlier to nervously step forward to address him, prompting his friends to tease him while he recognizes her from the beast tide, as she sincerely thanks him for saving her life during that chaotic battle, though our polite protagonist insists he was just doing his job as a hunter. Soon the trainees arrive at the treacherous wetlands, a place crawling with deadly beasts, where the 4 elite Marquise powerhouses assemble to explain the rules of this trial, warning the students that slackers will be ruthlessly weeded out during the monthly assessments, before officially dismissing the group to begin their brutal 2-week survival training. Zhao Gang approaches our boy to discuss their current squad situation as they prepare for the trial, explaining with a worried face that their team is down to just 3 active members now. While Zhang Han isn't worried about himself, he knows his friends will be in serious danger. But before he can formulate a plan, a familiar female student suddenly calls out to him, asking if his small group would like to merge with her squad for better safety. Our hero gladly accepts the offer, realizing that a 7-person team is much more balanced, which absolutely delights the girls, who are thrilled to have such a legendary powerhouse carrying them. As they venture deeper into the dense wetlands, they remain highly alert of the treacherous terrain, treading carefully through the muddy forest paths where hidden dangers could strike at any second. Stopping the group, Zhang Han suggests they split into pairs to hunt beasts around this area, prompting the shy girl to immediately volunteer to be his partner, which he casually accepts. With the plan set, the 7 of them divide into 3 separate teams to begin farming. And as they walk, our curious protagonist asks his new partner about her specific awakened talent. She explains it is a B-grade telepathy skill, though Zhang Han insists it actually has incredible potential. Halting his steps in a small clearing, our boy decides this is the perfect spot, telling her to stay back with his giant tiger while he handles the incoming monsters. Suddenly, a pack of ferocious swamp-dwelling serpent beasts leaps out of the shadows to attack him. Moving like a blur, Zhang Han unleashes a flurry of glowing blue slashes to shred them instantly, leaving his partner completely starstruck by the sheer, effortless display of his godlike combat power. Meanwhile, the watching instructors note that this 18-year-old monster is already on track to break every record. Meanwhile, the powerful commander discusses his plans to enter an alternate dimension to break his limits, and his teammate warmly reassures him that his incredible strength will guarantee his success. Back in the wetlands, Zhang Han asks his partner to help him clean up the battlefield, but the bubbling mud beneath their feet suddenly signals that something massive is lurking nearby. Sensing the sudden shift in the atmosphere, both hunters freeze in absolute confusion, only for our hero to instantly grab the girl and dive out of harm's way, as a colossal red-horned serpent beast bursts from the swamp to tower over them. This terrifying monster is revealed to be a high-tier lord-level deer-headed scaled snake, casting a massive shadow over the clearing as it prepares to crush the intruders, making our boy realize this beast is far too powerful to fight head-on. Grabbing his partner's arm and urgently yelling at her to run as fast as possible, a massive explosion rocks the ground behind them as they desperately flee the clearing. While Zhang Han realizes the fresh beast blood on their armor is making them easy targets, this giant serpent relentlessly pursues them through the forest, lunging down with terrifying speed, forcing our hero to carry the girl while dodging another devastating near-miss strike. Knowing they cannot outrun this monster forever, Zhang Han decides he has to stand and fight, channeling his crackling blue lightning directly into his blade to prepare for a counterattack, launching himself high into the air to strike the beast head-on while his partner watches in horror. However, the sheer physical power of the Lord-level serpent catches him completely off guard, sending our hero flying backward through the air as the terrified girl screams his name. Seeing the terrifying monster, the pink-haired girl panics and screams for her sister's help. She rushes over to Xiao Ying, desperately asking if her telepathy skill can calm the beast down. But the terrified girl is on the verge of tears, completely paralyzed by its overwhelming aura. Realizing they are out of time, the team scrambles to coordinate a desperate buffing strategy, while Zhang Han charges up his lightning blade to keep the massive serpent distracted, prompting the brave purple-haired warrior to leap into the air to back him up, though her rapid-fire dagger strikes do absolutely nothing against the monster's iron-hard scales. Sensing the imminent danger, our hero screams a warning as the beast turns its wrath on her, lunging down with its massive jaws wide open to swallow her whole in a single bite. Luckily, Jonghan moves like a flash, scooping her up just as a massive explosion erupts. But the giant serpent quickly recovers, blocking their only escape route with its towering body. This monster begins to glow with a menacing red light, preparing to unleash its ultimate attack, forcing their pink-haired teammate to step up and manifest a glowing red barrier to hold it back, screaming for the others to run while she strains to keep the shield from shattering. Knowing they cannot escape, Jonghan decides to end this, summoning a massive sphere of crackling lightning, charging forward at breakneck speed as the electric energy swirls violently around his hand. He leaps high above the beast's head, ready to deliver a devastating final blow, slamming the lightning orb down to obliterate the Lord-level monster in a blinding flash of light. His partner watches in absolute awe, completely stunned by the ridiculous scale of his power, as a system notification pops up to confirm the kill and award him massive experience points. Xiaoying collapses from exhaustion, completely overwhelmed by the terrifying power of her own telepathic skill, prompting her sister to rush over in a panic, desperately calling out her name. Jonghan explains that she suffered severe mental backlash from targeting a high-tier Lord-level beast, before gently scolding the purple-haired warrior for being way too reckless in such a dangerous fight, leaving her feeling guilty as our hero tells the group to clean up and find camp. Night quickly falls over the treacherous wetlands, with the sound of happy chewing echoing through the trees, as the squad gathers around a cozy campfire to feast on some incredibly delicious roasted snake meat, while the girls tease their leader for being a bit too harsh on his worried teammates. Suddenly, a familiar voice laughs from the shadows, teasing Jonghan about his lack of romance, revealing their headband-wearing friend who has finally arrived to rejoin the squad for the trial. He proudly boasts that he could never miss out on the action as a true warrior, immediately teasing our boy about his new female companions before their masked teammate interrupts them, explaining that Jonghan has been assigned a highly classified special training mission from the higher-ups, leaving their friend completely baffled while our hero tells him to just eat his dinner first. This next morning, Jonghan instructs the group to stick to their original safe formations. Just as he prepares to set off with his giant tiger, a familiar voice calls out, as the purple-haired warrior steps forward to ask if she can join his dangerous mission, prompting our hero to clarify that his earlier scolding was not meant to offend her, but she insists she wants to get stronger, even after hearing the absurdly high kill requirements. Jonghan reluctantly agrees to let her tag along, warning her that survival is on her. Jonghan points out that their special training zone is just 30 kilometers ahead, but a terrifying horde of ferocious high-level beasts suddenly blocks their path, prompting our hero to draw his blade and warn his teammates to stay back, though the stubborn purple-haired warrior immediately rushes ahead to target the stragglers. Keeping a close eye on her, Jonghan prepares to unleash his own devastating attack, as a massive, red-eyed bear beast lunges forward to crush him in a single blow. Our boy quickly channels his crackling blue lightning directly into his palm, releasing a massive electric shockwave that completely vaporizes the surrounding monsters in an instant. Watching from above, the instructors note that his lightning power has grown incredibly destructive, prompting the commander to ask the masked expert to guide this unpolished gem. Back on the ground, the battlefield falls silent with defeated beasts scattered everywhere, but Jonghan suddenly collapses to his knees in absolute agonizing pain. His worried teammate rushes to his side, desperately asking if he is all right, as the masked instructor suddenly appears to warn him about his dangerous power, explaining that forcing such extreme lightning can cause severe internal damage or even death. This veteran orders him to sit down and focus on regulating his chaotic energy, forcing our hero to immediately cross his legs and begin meditating on the spot, slowly circulating the swirling white aura to heal his strained internal pathways. Standing back up, he warmly reassures his anxious friends that he is finally feeling better. However, the instructor warns him that he must master both releasing and retracting his overwhelming power. This masked instructor activates a glowing golden barrier, challenging our boy to strike him with everything he has. Accepting the challenge with a confident grin, Jonghan immediately charges forward to test his limits, slamming a lightning-infused fist directly into the barrier with a massive crackle of electricity. Unfortunately, the strike barely leaves a scratch, prompting the veteran to explain the basics of elemental control. He explains that elemental affinity determines a hunter's true power, ordering our hero to try again, which sends Jonghan leaping back into the air with his blade fully charged once more, only to get blasted backward again, screaming as the sheer defensive force repels him instantly. Nursing his bruised ego, our boy realizes the instructor's S-grade metal defense is currently way too high, while his teammates watch from the sidelines, completely stunned by the brutal intensity of this training. This purple-haired warrior looks on in silence, realizing the massive gap that still exists between them. 3 days later, Jonghan finds himself deep in the wilderness facing a massive multi-eyed lizard beast, which is revealed to be a terrifying mid-tier lord-level poison-eyed 8-clawed dragon. Drawing his blade, our hero channels his crackling blue lightning to put his new training to the test, launching himself high into the air to deliver a devastating downward strike on the roaring monster, decapitating the giant beast in a single clean motion as electric energy explodes across the clearing. Landing smoothly, Jonghan smiles as he realizes his elemental control has improved by leaps and bounds. Watching from the cliffs above, the instructors are absolutely blown away by his absurdly fast growth rate, though the commander cryptically warns that the real challenge is only just beginning for our hero, who is currently walking away from his fresh kill, completely unaware of any impending danger, until a massive violent tremor suddenly shakes the ground beneath his feet to signal a new threat. Suddenly, a massive shockwave blasts Jonghan backward before he can even register the threat, sliding across the dirt as he barely manages to stabilize himself in a defensive stance, only to look up in absolute horror as he senses an overwhelmingly powerful aura. Standing before him is a colossal, purple-eyed thunder scale dragon roaring with terrifying Lord-level energy. Our hero quickly leaps back, wondering why a Lord-level monster is still roaming this cleared zone. But a sudden swipe from the beast's massive tail sends him flying through the air, crashing heavily onto the hard ground as his breath is completely knocked out of him. Looking up, he sees the instructors calmly watching, with the commander admitting he left this beast on purpose. Jonghan panics, yelling that a high-tier Lord-level monster will easily crush him in seconds. However, the commander smugly explains that defeating this dragon is his final exam to pass the trial. This massive beast lets out another deafening roar, locking its deadly gaze right back onto him, forcing our boy to turn around and run for his life while cursing his absurd luck, while the commander cheerfully shouts from behind that they have full confidence in his survival. Suddenly, the masked instructor catches up to him, asking if he remembers the first rule of the wilderness. Before Jonghan can answer, the veteran yells to run when outmatched and instantly zooms away, leaving our hero to desperately flee from a lightning-fast dragon that he cannot possibly outrun. Later that night, the delicious aroma of roasted fish fills the air around a cozy campfire, where the squad gathers to rest as Jonghan explains the beast had 50,000 more combat power. This shocking revelation leaves the pink-haired girl completely baffled, wondering how such a monster was missed, prompting the commander to sigh and admit that the whole situation is a very long story. Jonghan finishes his meal and announces he is heading out to train immediately, prompting the veteran instructor to smile and promise he won't let that delicious fish go to waste, offering to teach our boy how to use metal as the ultimate conductor for his lightning. While the purple-haired warrior stands up by the campfire, completely filled with a new sense of determination, realizing she needs to push herself way harder if she ever wants to keep up with him. 7 days of brutal, non-stop training quickly pass by in the quiet wilderness. With his elemental control reaching a whole new level, our hero is finally ready for a rematch, as the masked instructor activates his golden barrier and dares the kid to break it, forcing Jonghan to confidently draw his blade and warn the veteran to brace himself. This instructor just laughs, telling him to bring on absolutely everything he has got, which is exactly when our boy channels a massive, crackling sphere of pure blue lightning, leaping high into the air to unleash a specialized strike designed to bypass the barrier. This veteran watches in absolute shock, realizing the kid combined two talents to reshape his energy, right before a massive, blinding explosion of electricity completely shatters his ultimate defense. Our hero rushes over in a panic, desperately asking if his mentor is still in one piece. But the tough old warrior just laughs it off, thoroughly impressed by his ridiculous growth rate, with our hero humbly crediting the advice about using metal to perfectly conduct his lightning. Suddenly, slow clapping echoes through the clearing as the commander steps forward to praise him, declaring that Jonghan's current combat power has officially reached the prestigious Marquis level. Smiling confidently, he asks if he can finally go hunt that terrifying thunder scale dragon. Checking his updated system screen, Jonghan smiles as his combat power officially skyrockets to over 70,000, with crackling blue lightning surging through his eyes as he prepares for the ultimate showdown. Standing alone on the desolate hilltop while his overwhelming aura begins to warp the surrounding air, our boy confidently steps forward, completely wrapped in a terrifying shroud of pure electric energy, ready to unleash his newly mastered elemental control against the legendary Lord-level beast. Suddenly, the colossal thunderscale dragon lunges downward with a deafening roar that shakes the earth, prompting our hero to instantly channel a swirling vortex of lightning directly into his blade. Leaping high into the sky to position himself perfectly above the massive monster, he rains down a massive web of crackling electricity that completely traps the roaring dragon, before delivering a devastating downward slash to unleash the full force of his lightning judgment. This giant beast screeches in absolute agony as the overwhelming current surges through its entire body, leaving the watching female instructor completely stunned by how fast his strength has grown, while the commander calmly notes that the kid has already surpassed their own combat levels. They agree it is finally time to send him to the front lines to meet Yang Huan, just as the defeated dragon crashes heavily onto the dirt with its energy completely depleted. To ensure the job is done, Zhang Han charges up one last massive sphere of electricity, vaporizing the beast entirely as a system notification pops up to unlock the next Shura quest, which rewards him with a highly coveted new talent slot that leaves him grinning like crazy. This female instructor walks over to warmly praise him for completing this absurdly difficult training, instructing our hero to head back to the defensive line where his next major mission awaits. Before heading out, the female instructor hands Zhang Han a special parting gift to process at the defensive line, arriving shortly after at the local materials exchange to trade in his massive haul of beast carcasses, where he casually unloads a mountain of high-level monsters that completely fills the entire reception hall, leaving the staff utterly speechless before the manager demands they offer him the absolute highest market rate. This appraiser quickly gets to work, listing off absurdly high prices for each rare boss-level monster, while the elegant manager invites our boy to sit down, promising some highly lucrative business news, explaining that the massive Hanyu group took over his gold mine and wants him to invest further, which could easily net him a fortune since the conglomerate pulls in hundreds of billions annually. Jonghan finds the proposal incredibly tempting, realizing this partnership could secure his financial future. Suddenly, the appraiser returns with the final tally for the 17 Overlord Beasts and 3 Beast Kings, announcing a mind-blowing grand total of over 3.8 billion credits that leaves our hero completely flabbergasted. Though the manager calmly reassures him, the math is correct and urges him to sign the transfer, prompting our boy to readily accept the pen to finalize this life-changing transaction. With the paperwork officially signed, she warmly bids him farewell and hopes for his speedy return, watching him walk away with a bittersweet smile as she laments how much he has suffered, secretly revealing that she is actually his long-lost aunt, desperately wishing they could finally reunite. Meanwhile, Jonghan strolls down the street with his white tiger, wondering why his captain is late, only to receive a text stating they will meet after he passes the Grand Marquis exam. Just then, a system alert flashes to announce he has awakened a legendary S-grade life talent, boosting his combat power past 90,000 and ensuring his upcoming promotion exam will be a total breeze. Arriving at the massive Martial Arts Association building, Jonghan announces he is here for the Grand Marquis promotion, which completely stuns the receptionist, who thinks the kid is playing some kind of ridiculous joke. But he simply points toward a heavy metal door to direct our hero to the testing arena. Walking past him, Jonghan offers a polite thank you while the man mutters about crazy youngsters. And as soon as he steps inside, a heavy grunting sound echoes through the metallic hallway, revealing a massive muscular examiner lifting a heavy barbell who immediately tells him he is lost. This beefy warrior drops his weights, aggressively warning our boy that this is a high-level exam room, prompting Jonghan to sweat a little while, calmly confirming he is in the exact right place. This examiner laughs, explaining the goal is to survive 5 minutes against him without getting knocked out, only to get incredibly ticked off when our hero casually agrees to give it a shot. Losing his temper instantly, the brute hurls his massive barbell straight at Jonghan's head, who easily deflects the heavy metal with a swift kick before landing in a defensive stance. But the examiner is already closing the distance, throwing a massive punch with terrifying speed. Our boy ducks under the strike, earning some brief praise before the brute boasts about his strength, unleashing another heavy downward hammer fist to easily crush the kid once and for all. Except Jonghan is done playing defense, releasing a massive surge of crackling blue lightning, which completely overwhelms the examiner, slamming him flat onto the cold floor in an instant. Standing over his defeated opponent, our hero smiles as the groaning man realizes this power exceeds Marquis level, while a system notification pops up to officially declare that he has passed the exam, leaving Jonghan to walk out of the facility with a confident grin, ready for the front lines. Meanwhile, a vengeful noble hears about Jonghan passing the prestigious Grand Marquis promotion exam, swearing to make our boy pay with his life to appease his fallen son. Unaware of the danger, our hero heads right back to the materials exchange building, where the elegant manager greets him warmly, wondering why he returned so quickly. He explains that he needs a highly destructive weapon and price is absolutely no issue, prompting her to explain that such heavy artillery is usually restricted to high-ranking warriors. Since she secretly cares for him, she agrees to bypass the rules and report it later, presenting a high-grade energy bomb designed to wipe out entire beast tides in seconds. She immediately orders her staff to retrieve the weapon and finalize the official registration, before quietly instructing her top bodyguard to shadow the kid and keep him safe. Later that night, under a crescent moon, the quiet city streets turn completely silent as Jonghan walks alone through the desolate outskirts, wondering when his stalker will strike. Suddenly, a massive blade slices through the dark night sky with terrifying speed, forcing our hero to swiftly dodge backward as the weapon cuts through his afterimage, sliding into a defensive stance while realizing his mysterious pursuer has finally made a move. Looking up, he spots a dark silhouette standing ominously on the distant hilltop, stepping forward with heavy, deliberate footsteps as the tension in the air reaches its peak. This attacker is none other than the vengeful noble, carrying a massive ribbon-wrapped coffin, which he slams heavily onto the dusty ground with a deafening, earth-shaking thud, pointing his sword at our boy while roaring that he will join his son in the grave. Jonghan drops his gear and accepts the challenge, ready to settle this grudge once and for all. But the vengeful noble immediately activates a massive red domain to trap our hero inside, boasting that there is no escape and offering the kid a chance to end his own life. Our boy just scoffs at the ridiculous offer, instantly infuriating the old warrior who roars in pure rage. Unleashing a massive wave of golden energy, the noble declares that no Grand Marquis can survive his blade, forcing Jonghan to quickly leap backward while drawing his crackling blue sword to defend himself, though the homing energy slash suddenly bends in mid-air to strike him from an unexpected angle, making him realize that his opponent can freely redirect the flying slashes anywhere within this domain. Realizing he cannot simply dodge his way out, our hero decides to meet the attack head-on, channeling a massive surge of blue lightning to clash directly against the incoming golden energy. This resulting explosion of elemental power blasts our boy backward as he screams from the sheer impact, sliding heavily across the dirt before quickly recovering his footing to prepare for the next strike, which actually earns him some brief praise from the noble for surviving such a devastating blow. However, the old man is done playing around, floating into the air while wielding 2 massive swords, and unleashing a terrifying storm of golden blade chi that rains down with absolute destructive force, completely engulfing our hero in a blinding vortex of energy that threatens to tear him apart. Desperately parrying the relentless barrage, Zhang Han swings his blade to deflect the incoming slashes. But the overwhelming pressure leaves him bleeding and realizing he seriously underestimated this opponent's power, as the vengeful noble leaps high above him to deliver a final crushing downward strike, screaming for the kid to die as a colossal blade of light descends to finish him. Just as the devastating blow is about to crush our hero, he braces for the absolute worst. But a sudden flash of brilliant blue energy slices through the darkness to intercept the strike, leaving the vengeful noble trembling on his knees as he mutters about a legendary god of war. High above them, a mysterious silhouette floats gracefully against the backdrop of the glowing crescent moon, which completely stuns Jiang Han as he tries to process this absurd level of power. This newcomer is revealed to be an elegant elderly woman wielding a massive dragon-headed staff, calmly explaining that she was sent by her group's second miss to protect our boy. Without wasting any time, she channels a terrifying sphere of blue energy to eliminate the threat, prompting the terrified noble to beg for his life while a familiar voice screams for mercy. Suddenly, the long-haired bodyguard rushes onto the scene, yelling that this target was meant as a test. Our hero can only stare in utter disbelief, wondering why everyone keeps testing him like this. Except the powerful elder completely ignores the warning, unleashing a massive torrent of freezing energy, instantly turning the vengeful noble into a solid block of ice before he can even scream. This arriving bodyguard facepalms in absolute despair, crying over the fact that their target is already dead, while the elderly powerhouse coldly states she only takes orders from her mistress to ensure safety. With her mission complete, she vanishes into thin air, leaving the two men standing in silence. Zhang Han immediately bombards the bodyguard with questions about this mysterious savior and her hidden mistress. Though the exhausted man simply sighs and offers a hand to help our boy stand up, he tells our hero to head over to the captain if he wants any real answers, unaware that a mysterious caped observer is watching their every move from the shadows of the forest. Yang returns to his masked captain, who immediately notices his pale face and asks what happened, and the bodyguard bluntly delivers the shocking news that the vengeful noble is officially dead. This completely stuns the masked captain, who demands to know how such a powerful warrior was defeated, prompting Yang to explain that a mysterious powerhouse intervened to protect Jiang Han from the old man's wrath. Our boy demands answers about his connection to these hidden protectors, but the captain promises to explain later. Before their conversation is suddenly cut short by a masked scout dropping down from the sky, she urgently reports that a massive, unprecedented beast tide has just breached the D-class training zone, revealing that a terrifying beast emperor has trapped the special recruitment team inside the danger zone. Hearing that his close friend is in grave danger, Zhang Han listens as the captain orders an immediate rescue. This kid steps forward without a second thought, loudly demanding to join the dangerous mission. But the captain flatly refuses, warning him that a beast emperor is far beyond his current level. Zhang Han argues that he has a personal duty to go, determined to protect his friends at all costs, leaving the captain with no choice but to relent, telling him to stay close and stay alive. This squad immediately charges into the dark night, racing toward a massive storm of crackling blue lightning, while the captain warns our boy to keep his head down and avoid doing anything reckless. Suddenly, a colossal black dragon descends from the swirling storm clouds with a deafening roar, unleashing a powerful wave of mental pressure that forces Jiang Han to clutch his head in agony. This captain quickly floats down, ordering our struggling hero to clear his mind and look away immediately, as the scout explains that this legendary beast emperor can directly attack a warrior's soul, with the captain warning him to ignore the sky as they prepare to face this nightmare. This masked captain decides to draw the beast's attention, ordering the others to focus on rescuing the survivors. And with a unified shout, the elite squad dives straight toward the chaotic battlefield below. Though the captain suddenly asks to borrow Zhang Han's special armor, leaving our boy completely confused about his family's secrets. While down on the ground, the terrifying beast emperor looms over the desperate, trapped recruits. This purple-haired teacher urges her students to hold the line, promising that help is already on the way, when suddenly one of the girls points the sky with a look of pure hope. As the rescue squad descends through the dark clouds like a group of legendary superheroes, immediately the captain clashes with the massive black dragon, creating a spectacular diversion for the ground team, while Zhang Han charges ahead, finally realizing the true power of the armor he is wearing. As the captain barks orders for his team to secure the retreat while he handles the Beast King alone, one of the masked squad members immediately begins channeling a massive support spell, while the other warriors leap into the fray to clear a path through the monster horde, sending a massive wave of energy straight into our hero to supercharge his abilities. Multiple system notifications instantly pop up, showing his strength and agility skyrocketing by hundreds of %, leaving Zhang Han absolutely stunned by the absurd amount of buffs he just received at once. Feeling the surge of raw power, he draws his crackling lightning blade to face the oncoming beasts, unleashing a devastating strike that easily tears through the darkness with blinding electrical energy. Reaching the survivors, he quickly directs them to head southeast while the captain keeps the dragon busy. But before they leave, our boy urgently asks the teacher if anyone has seen his close friend, prompting a student to point toward the distant cliffs where her split-up squad originally fled. Zhang Han sprints desperately through the wasteland, praying his close friend can survive until he arrives. Meanwhile, Zhang Jiyu and her battered squad stand back-to-back as lightning crackles menacingly above them, realizing that staying on the defensive any longer will only lead to their absolute doom. Her squad mate suggests a desperate breakout attempt, arguing that even a single survivor is better than total annihilation. But before they can even take a step, a massive reptilian monster looms directly behind her,